What's up? Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night, and Sunday is the evening that I choose every week to talk with you guys about some sensitive subjects. The previous weeks I spoke about anxiety and depression. Anxiety being the most complicated subject I had to go over, and it ran me 3 hours to kind of discuss all of the things, the ins and outs of what I understood about the symptoms and so forth and how we could deal with it. If any of you are interested whatsoever in looking back at any of that valuable information, you can always hop on my YouTube channel. Look up Cup of Noodles on there and you will find me, and then look at my #TherapyGaming playlist, which will have all of my previous content readily available for you to look back on. So tonight we were talking about what subject could we move on to next after dealing with the subjects of anxiety and depression. And tonight in particular, we decided we were going to go with ADHD by viewer request. Yes, it is not along the exact lines of heavier things or subjects like depression or anxiety, but you would be surprised after I talk to you tonight about this subject how much it can relate or connect with one another or blend in with each other. Just as last weekend when I spoke about how anxiety blended in deeply with depression, this weekend I will be talking about ADHD and how it blends in with anxiety and depression altogether. So the subject really does pertain to or relate to the previous subject, so it's not like we're veering off on a tangent here. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Flame, I appreciate you being here, supporting me. I look forward to having everyone that's going to be joining me this evening, for all of the people who consistently show me support, who show up for the help that I am providing in regards to the topics I am talking about, as well as the people who just enjoy my company. So to start off, most of all, hey, how are you doing, Grapes? I wanted to bring up what I bring up in every therapy gaming session, and that is I am not a licensed professional. My advice is solely based on opinion and experience and wisdom, so do not take anything fully to heart. Yes, I am giving you tips and advice on how to deal with real-life circumstances and situations that are difficult to deal with. This is my way that I've dealt with it in my life. These are the experiences I've gone through. I'm giving you a piece of my life and a piece of my heart and a piece of my mind. So take it that way. If you are in a condition in which that you feel that you cannot help yourself, you just don't have the mental strength, the spiritual strength, or just the heart in general to deal with your own problems, and you feel like you need help, then you should absolutely 100% reach out to a professional, reach out to a friend, to a family member, or to anyone at all for help so that they can facilitate you with those issues. It is very dangerous to tread on territory where you are dealing with symptoms that are affecting your lifestyle and may possibly lead to a state of suicide. So be very careful with those kinds of conditions to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, just as well as by taking care of yourself, you are making sure that the people around you are being taken care of as well, because we have people in our lives that, although we may not notice because of our mental condition, love us very dearly and need us in their life. So let's not ruin that by not approaching them for help when we need it. So now that that's clear out of the way, I can be less concerned about anyone being worried about me providing advice. That's not exactly the type of professional advice you'll receive, but the big thing that we've been talking about over the last few weekends in therapy gaming sessions is that the reason why I do this is because it provides two opportunities. The first of which is an opportunity for me to express myself, my own experiences, my own life story, as well as my own conditions that I've gone through to deal with these problems. So that way people can relate to someone else and not feel alone. The biggest problem we deal with as we go with these issues in our life is feeling alone, and that is the most dangerous territory to be in mentally. So I am doing this as a service to everyone out there, to show love, to show my mind, to share my heart, and to share my spirit, so that you can feel welcomed and you can feel safe knowing that there are other people going through what you're going through, and there are ways to deal with it. The second reason why I do this is because I am in particularly very gifted with the ability to break down information in a way that is very easy to understand for anyone of any age. So I have a blessing or an opportunity to present the information to you as I discuss these topics in a way that will make you really understand the deep down inner workings and mechanics of how these symptoms or conditions affect your body physically and neurologically, as well as how they affect you spiritually and mentally. So this is a holistic way for you to really think about and receive the information that I'm talking about, instead of just going online and looking up text that's not going to really give you the details, or you're not going to fully understand it because you cannot visualize, and a doctor giving you out of the book information that may not necessarily help you, because it's not always that we're dealing with just a mental issue. It is often that we're dealing with a spiritual issue that is something that in science we're not fully capable of providing healing to people yet. So that's where I am with my life, that I have the capacity through Buddhist training, meditation, and so forth, to be able to understand spirituality, to help you in a way that will soothe your soul, soothe your heart, with some of the ways and techniques and experiences that I've dealt with in my own conditions with these problems. So thank you so much for everyone who is here tonight showing me support. I appreciate any regulars who are stopping back in. You guys have been the absolute rock that has been keeping me going as I've been dealing with my own issues. A lot of you are aware I've had my own difficult situations I've been going through in my life that are pretty hard to deal with. But as I've been doing therapy gaming as well as just gaming in general on every weekend, the community has really been behind me, and it has provided me the strength and the energy and the ambition for me to move forward that I required in order to be here in front of you today. You guys are really the reason why I'm still alive, the reason why I'm still pushing, and the reason why I do what it is that I do. Thank you so much for accepting my heart. Thank you so much for appreciating my love, and thank you so much for sharing it back with me. So ADHD, it is just like anxiety last week, a very complicated subject, because with these conditions, a lot of people go around the internet saying, oh, you just do this or do that and it solves your problem. That's never the case. The biggest thing, if you've been here in my previous sessions, you'll understand that I go into deep explanations about how these issues or conditions really affect our body physiologically, meaning your actual body's physical aspects, from your internal organs to your stomach and so forth, as well as neurologically and within your brain and mind and so forth. But it goes in very many layers on how these things affect you. So I'll be talking about this and how they connect with each other. I mentioned at the beginning of this stream how I'll be discussing and interconnecting the subjects of anxiety, depression, along with tonight's subject, ADHD, because they really do go hand in hand. It's just that you have not been trained or educated that they do, and so you're not aware that you may have other conditions such as anxiety or depression that you're dealing with, because no one really talks about this stuff in a way that makes it understandable, presentable, or easy for you to deal with. Hey Cup, I'm going to be popping in whenever I have data and a plan, because I'm flying to Seattle currently. Oh, I had no clue that you were going to be in flight tonight. I thought you were going tomorrow. I appreciate you being here, Ninja. I apologize that you are incapable of fully being attentive. It was Ninja that requested for me to do the subject of ADHD today, so it's very valuable information to him. Don't worry about it, brother. All this information is being recorded straight to YouTube. It'll be available to you there on the playlist so that you can rewind and go back. So don't worry about stressing at all that you're not present, although it was your request that I am doing ADHD as a subject. So ADHD, there's so much I have to say. I actually organize myself as much as possible when I do these therapy gaming sessions. So it's not like I come in with a clean slate. I really do think about and process this information through the whole week before I go to the subject and begin talking about it on stream. And I wrote down a ton of notes on things or techniques and tips that I use myself throughout my life as I dealt with ADHD. As I used to have pretty bad ADHD, and I went through many circumstances that were difficult for me to deal with because of it. And I have created many solutions and techniques or tips that I apply to my daily life, even in present day, so that I can deal with the anxiety aspect of ADHD, as well as the inability to focus or the attention deficit aspect of ADHD. So there's three things in particular that are subjects that I want to cover with ADHD. That is focus, forgetfulness, and procrastination, because those are the biggest problems that we have with dealing with ADHD. Do you mind turn out game sound down, please? I can barely hear you. Yeah, absolutely. Is that better? So there's, three things. We have problem with focusing, we have a lot of problems with remembering things, and we have problems with getting things done. So on that regard, let's first of all talk about the science. I always really start with the science of how these things affect us physiologically, right? Basically, with ADHD, the biggest thing that you will always hear people talk about and mention is that we're dealing with a chemical issue that is happening within our brain. This is a deficiency of some sort where your brain is not producing the chemicals that it requires in order for it to draw the attention or focus it needs to, like a normal person, in order to process new information so that you can think things through. So this is the reason why we have problem with focus, as well as problem with forgetfulness. It's because we are chemically imbalanced up there neurologically, and the chemicals that are not producing as much as they should are the most essential chemicals that are required for our brain to use in order to fire up the electricity it needs to think and process the information that we are interacting with every day. The other thing that is physiologically affecting us or neurologically affecting us up here with ADHD is the fact that they have discovered in science that there is actually deformities within our brain with ADHD, where a section, and mainly it usually happens in the prefrontal cortex, which is the front of your brain, the front hemisphere of your brain, where it is underdeveloped, and so it'll be smaller in size, which would reduce the capacity of its ability to produce information at the same rate that a normal person produces it at. So dealing with ADHD is not necessarily a sensitive or a simple subject, due to the fact that it is an actual physiological issue that we're dealing with neurologically, but just as well there are many layers of other things that go into that make it even more difficult to deal with. If you were here for my anxiety topic, you would know that I go into detail about the physical aspect, and then I go into the mental and spiritual aspect and how they all connect together. So I'll be doing the same thing this evening with ADHD. Now, the big thing about with dealing with the neurological aspect of ADHD is that most often than not, when you are talking to a physician or a professional that is trying to help you, or even parents or even teachers, they have been trained to instantly determine that you need to have medication to help facilitate the chemical imbalance that is going on in your brain. And this is true, this is very true, and you need to really let a professional, a doctor, determine where you're at in the stage of your ADHD in order to know how bad it is, to see if you should really be considering taking the medication, because you would be absolutely surprised at how beneficial the medication can be. But the thing is to remember is that there are probably a dozen different types of medication you can take. They all affect the human body differently with chemical reactions. And so as you go through the process of trying to look into professional support and getting medication, you really have to go through this whole journey that takes months of time, maybe even a year, 2 years of time, to try and figure out which medication really works with you and has the least side effects. Because there are a ton of side effects, chemical byproduct side effects, that are happening to your body when you are producing a higher rate of chemical one section of your body, and then your body tries to compensate and make up for it to balance your body back up, because there's too much of this, so it starts making more of that, and so forth. And so you really have to go through these very difficult experience of trying to figure out which one of these drugs is really going to work for me. Now that's the aspect of trying to take medication into consideration when it comes to the chemical imbalances going into your brain. But here's the biggest thing to note, is that regardless of what medication you take, that is not a solution. It will never be a cure. It is a simple way to allow you to find relief from the condition of being distracted, forgetful, and unable to process what's going on in front of you, unable to accept the information that is presented to you, even in a conversation or a lecture in front of a classroom, or by a boss who's trying to instruct you. So by ingesting or taking this medication, it will create a chemical byproduct in your brain that will allow you to draw more synapses, more electricity in your brain, to allow you to do normal productivity or activity within your brain, to try and kind of behave like a normal person. But that is a temporary thing, because as long as you take the pill, you might have better effects. It will help you, but it's not long-term. It's not forever. That's not the permanent solution, because the problem is that although you have a chemical deficiency in your brain that's neurological, you still have the problem that you have been born with, raised, or programmed yourself to deal with a condition that has made you unable to think like a normal person, to operate like a normal person. So it's bad enough already that we're not producing enough of the chemical which the pills can help you with, but it's even worse that your brain has been trying to make up for not being able to think like a normal person, and now it has started to create new bridges and new ways of thinking that are not healthy and that are not normal. So even though you take the pill, that pill cannot reprogram your brain. Only you can reprogram your brain. So that's a big part of dealing with ADHD, is trying to reprogram yourself mentally so that you can deal with issues that you are having with attention span, forgetfulness with memory, memory issues, procrastination with not wanting to do things. So that is the general scientific aspect of it. Again, I am not a neurologist. I am not a doctor of physiology. I am not a professional in that area. I'm just presenting information to you the way that I break it down, and a simpler, easier way for you to consume or understand, so that we can kind of get each other and you can really relate to the information I'm presenting to you. The stuff I'm talking to you about is factual. It's real science. I'm just saying it in a way that you can really get it. Now that we understand really what's going on with thank you so much for the cheer, appreciate it. Meister, thank you for being here. But now that we understand kind of the science aspect of what's going on with ADHD, we can move on to the more difficult stuff to deal with. So yes, if you're in a really bad place with your ADHD where you really cannot focus at all, and you are so agitated, irritated, angry, upset, annoyed, because you can't focus, you can't concentrate, you can't stop moving around, your body has too much energy, and you are causing stress, you're causing suffering, you're causing upsetness, you're causing irritability, you're pissing off your parents, your family, your teachers, you're just in a place where you just are out of control, then you should really consider going and getting help from a doctor or a specialist or a psychotherapist that will be able to determine that you are diagnosed with ADHD and provide you medication that can help kind of soothe those issues you're dealing with. Because the biggest thing is that if you're dealing with a heavy chemical imbalance in your brain and a deformity of the brain itself, then it may be such an extreme case that you're dealing with that just trying to mentally condition yourself, which I'm going into the next subject, or spiritually condition yourself is not going to be enough. It's not going to work. You're really going to have to consider getting some medication. But let's move on to going from, the mental aspect to the general, not the mental aspect, but I just spoke about the physiological aspect, the science behind it. So now let's talk about the thinking behind it, right? The process of how do you deal with when you're dealing with the symptoms, the problems you're experiencing with ADHD. Like, for example, you can't focus, you forget a lot, you can't remember, you can't retain information, you procrastinate, you don't want to do things because you're irritable, you're annoyed, you feel bored, These are all feelings and sensations that we're dealing with that are in two minds. In the previous sessions on therapy gaming, I spoke about several times about how there are two minds in the human body, not just one. We have our brain mind and we have our heart mind. Scientists have discovered that the heart is a second brain, not just an organ that pumps blood. So we actually think with our heart, which I've explained my theory behind it before, which makes a lot of sense, is that when you feel feelings inside your heart or your chest, you are actually feeling thoughts that are affecting you chemically, because your heart is actually thinking about the feelings you're experiencing. And it's good for you to realize that, or think about the feelings that you're experiencing as you go through your life every day as thoughts that you can deal with in your heart, because it makes it easier for you to kind of find relief knowing that, okay, I can conquer or challenge this feeling I'm getting because it's just a thought that I may be able to control, right? It makes it easier to think about. So it's very important to know you have two minds in your body. There are two different things happening. There is your mind at the top in your brain that is kind of interacting with the world, making you do things and so forth and think things through. And then there's your heart mind, which gives you feelings and conditions, and you're just getting different experiences. It's more of a holistic, like things are happening. It's energetic. You feel suffering, you feel sadness, you feel happiness, excitement. It all happens here in the chest, not really up here in the mind. No problem at all, Meister. Appreciate you being here. Thank you for dropping in. I look forward to seeing you again. Now, the big thing is that when we're dealing, let's nail it out one subject at a time, right? With focus. When we're dealing with focus, big thing with focus is that when we're dealing with the inability, or when you're not able to focus, the big problem, the reason why that's happening psychologically, is because we are so hyperactive in our mind. We're dealing with so much information in our head. There's so many voices that are saying so many things to us in our head about different things that we're thinking about. There's so much noise in our head that we find it hard to think about one thing or focus on one thing, because we are thinking about so many things at the same time, that it is making it difficult for us to focus on one person, one subject, or one piece of information. So that's like the hardest thing to deal with when it comes to ADHD, is that there's too much going on up here that is distracting us from focusing on what we should be focusing on, even if we want to or not. If someone is speaking to you, then you should be focusing on them. If you have something, a task you need to complete, you should be focusing on that. The problem with ADHD is that we're unable to do that due to agitation in the mind, so irritability, annoyance, boredomness in the mind up here, as well as in the heart down here. Because the problem is that we are feeling annoyed or irritated, agitated, because there's so many voices going on, or saying or talking or thinking about so many different things. We're getting annoyed and irritated at ourselves for not being able to just focus on the person that's in front of us or the task that's in front of us. And then we start to get feelings in our chest that are making us anxious and upset and sad and angry and irritable and annoyed and mad, because we are getting these thoughts in our heart mind about the fact that we are annoyed that we can't do what we should be doing like a normal person. Because we go through our life with normal people every day in regards to being normal versus ADHD or having ADHD. That's what I mean by normal. When I say normal, someone that has it and someone doesn't have it. So people that do not have ADHD, we watch them and they kind of just behave normally. They just do their thing, they do their work. It's like everything is moving really slow, really easy for them, and they get everything done nice and steady. It's not the case for us people who are dealing with ADHD. So the problem is that we have so much going on in our head that we can't draw the focus to the information that's in front of us. That being said, the first thing that I wrote down about this subject with a way for you to deal with this issue is organization. The biggest problem ADHD people have, because we have so much going on in our head, it makes us forget, it makes us irritable, it makes us annoyed, not wanting to do things, that we push things aside, we forget about things, we move away from things, we run away from things or thoughts or conversations, because we're so irritated or annoyed that we can't draw in focus to the one thing that we want to draw focus onto. So let's say we have a task or objective or project or something pleasant like entertainment that we want to focus on. and then someone else needs something from us, or something else needs something from us, we're going to get annoyed, irritated, because we're getting sidetracked from what's called hyper-focusing in the psychology world. When we are ADHD, we have this ability that I call tunneling, which is hyper-focusing. It's arbitrary, they're both the same thing, where when we focus into stuff, we tunnel in. And like literally, it's like we're inside of a tunnel and everything around us is just blurred. It's like if you took a camera and you press the focus button and you just focus on whatever it is you're looking at, but everything else gets blurred. That is hyper-focusing. That is what I call tunnel visioning. So that's a very difficult thing for us to deal with, because as we are trying to deal with the problem of focus and having so much stuff going on in our head, we hyper-focus to ignore all the noise, to ignore all the voices. But the problem with ignoring all the voices is that we are ignoring other information or other people that we need to be paying attention to. So it's a big problem in our daily lifestyle. People get mad at us, people get annoyed with us, people get angry, upset, irritated, etc., because they don't understand what it's like for us to deal with the condition of ADHD. They just don't get it. Like I had stated in the beginning about the science of ADHD, we have a chemical issue that is going on in our mind, as well as possibly a like actual physiological issue where our brain can be deformed because of the ADHD. So people just don't understand ADHD, and they're not educated on it, and there's no one out there that explains things the way that I'm kind of explaining things myself, to break down the information and make it understandable or presentable or easy to digest or ingest in your mind. And so people are always going to get irritated with us with ADHD when we're dealing with our focus issue. Now, I wrote cleaning up clutter for your focus. So there's many ways of cleaning up clutter when we're dealing with focus, right? Because first of all, we're talking about the fact that we have to deal with all these voices. There's just too much going on. We're thinking about the apple tree and how it's made. We're thinking about, ooh, cocoa, I would love some, it's delicious. We're thinking about, butterfly, it's so pretty, but it's also scary. We're thinking about, I should stream tonight because that would be fun. We're thinking about, we're thinking about so much crap at the same time. That's the hyperactive part of the ADHD, that we are incapable of drawing focus to one thing because we're cluttered. So that's mental clutter. That's disorganization or not being organized in your head, which is a thing. You have to learn how to compartmentalize, is what it's called in the psychology world, or just in general, you will learn, people will talk about the fact that they compartmentalize, which is to kind of containerize or put things inside different boxes so that you could deal with one thing at a time and put other things that are less important or less valuable or less sensitive or less urgent into different boxes in your mind that you could get to later. So compartmentalization is a big part of sifting through information in your mind, but that's a very advanced, deep topic to get into. What I was mainly talking about when I said cleaning up clutter to focus, it all starts with simple steps when I talk about therapy gaming. Everything that I discuss is about how can we find the quickest, simplest solution to find the smallest amount of hope, to just get a little bit of relief, because the little bit of relief and hope that we find, the little bit of feeling better we find as people who are dealing with mental conditions is so huge to us. It's huge. It's not just simple. It's simple to other people, but to us it's huge to feel better. We don't get to feel better often. So just doing little things will make us feel better in a huge way. So cleaning up clutter around you is what I'm saying. Like, if you are ADHD and you're just so busy on like forgetting about things and ignoring things and pushing things away, the biggest mistake that you're making is that you are not organizing yourself within your environment. The problem with that is that as ADHD people who are hyperactive with thinking, we are thinking about everything that's around us, everything. Freaking the monitor, the mouse, the keyboard, the computer, the freaking console, the game, the information, the data, the internet, the microphone, the sound. We're just literally processing all this junk at the same time. We don't think normal. We think too much. So if you have a desk that you work at for your homework, if you have a desk that you work at for work, if you have a home you live in for your living condition, if you have a car you drive in, if you have a room that you sleep in, the number one easiest step that you can use to start reconditioning yourself or change your life with ADHD is to just try to accomplish one task, and that is to go through your stuff and organize. Get rid of everything you don't need. Get rid of it. Only have what you need, and that is it. So that way you can have less clutter for your brain to focus on, and then when you sit down, you're just focused on what you're doing. And there's not stuff in your peripheral, in the side of your eye, in the blurry vision area of your eye, to draw attention from your focus in different areas. Because that's the big problem with our distraction as ADHD people, is that when we are ADHD, we are hypersensitive, super sensitive to our senses on our body, to our hearing, our visual, to our touch, to our taste. Everything is hyperactive, is hyper. It's up. The energy level is higher. We're very sensitive to things. That makes it very difficult to deal with ADHD, because ADHD is the lack of focus or the lack of ability to draw attention to something. How can you draw attention to anything in your life if everything distracts you, right? Everything distracts you. So the number one thing to do, I talked about problem solving in my previous sessions, is problem solving is to go through your problem, break down your problem into smaller problems until you can break it down to the smallest problem, then find a solution for every problem. And a solution is just the opposite of the problem, just the opposite. You have lights off, you turn the light on. You have fire, you add water. You have wind, you add clothes, you know? So it's always the opposite. So you go, you break down your problem into smaller problems, you find solution for every problem until there's no more problems. That is what problem solving is. So with the problem of dealing with focus and clutter in particular, the first solution to dealing with clutter when your mind is just so cluttered with information and voices is to try and reduce things to think about. Get rid of things that are getting in the way of distracting you. They're distracting you from thinking about what you should be focused on. Get rid of the crap on your desk. Get rid of the crap in your bag. Get rid of the crap in your purse. Get rid of the crap in your car, your bedroom, your job, wherever it is, because as you reduce clutter in your physical life, there will be less things for you to look at, less things for you to listen to, less things for you to touch, which will reduce the amount of interaction your body has, your brain has with things in your environment, and allow you to focus more energy on what it is that you're doing in front of you. This is very, very, very important, very first step stuff that you should be doing when it comes to dealing with ADHD. I mean, this is like the best thing you can do for yourself, because we're just disorganized, all over the place people. So you have to problem solve. The opposite of disorganization is organization. The opposite of clutter is to not have clutter, to get rid of junk. The opposite of having too much noise is to reduce noise, you know? So that's a big thing. Now, the biggest thing with, let's see, with forget, okay, so focus, forgetfulness of the person, so, okay, the next thing with, so I'm going to start checking these off so that I don't go back to the same subject, right, as I'm talking about these things. So I'm keeping myself organized. I practice what I preach. I talked about this before in my previous streams. I absolutely do not like or detest people who talk about things that they can't do themselves. I am not one of those people. I do everything that I talk about. That's why I'm able to talk about it in such detail, is because I apply it to my life. So I'm able to break it down because I've used it as a broken down piece of information in my own life. So now it makes it easy for me to present it to you, to your life. Thank you so much for the follow, Shooter. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for being a part of the community. I appreciate everybody who's here right now. All of you who are on Twitter, if you want to communicate with me, I'm sorry. My system does not allow me to chat with you on Twitter through it. I use a chat app system. So please consider going on Mixer, Twitch, or YouTube to communicate with me on chat as I stream live. So the next thing is, let's see here. Mental, I wrote down, I'm going to read what I wrote down, okay? Mental training with listening skill is developed by hyperfocusing your ability to visualize every word that a person is uttering to you. listening to information while designing a movie scene in your mind. You must have mental discipline. So we're talking about the subject of focus, right? This is the second step of being able to draw focus. So the first step is removing the noise. Get rid of people, get rid of stuff, get rid of things, get rid of clutter, get rid of objects, right? Let's just objectify life. I know it's not the right thing to do, but let's just objectify life for the purpose of trying to make it easier for us to break down how to deal with the ADHD problem, right? Objectify people. Think of them as objects. Objectify everything. Think of everything as an object around you. Reduce the amount of objects around you so that you can have less things distracting you. That's the first step. The second step is the mental training of being able to think about the stuff that's in front of you. So here's the number one reason why you have trouble with focusing on what people are saying to you and remembering what people are saying to you. Focusing on the information that's in front of you with a teacher or a TV or a tutorial, and not being able to remember it or pay attention to it. Because the big problem with ADHD is that when we are looking at people that are conversing or speaking to us, or when we are looking at even a TV screen that has information for a tutorial or a teacher in front of a classroom, we start to blur out our vision and lose focus, literally like a camera. Like we're paying attention to what's going on and our vision starts to blur out, or our brain just goes away. We just float away mentally and we space off into 1,000 other things that are way more interesting to us than whatever the hell is going on in front of us. So this mental training with listening skill developed by hyper-focus, the ability to visualize every word. What I just said there, let me break that down, okay? The big thing with helping you, the number one thing with helping you deal with the condition of lack of focus when it comes to, interacting with information, is you're not able, listen carefully to what I'm saying, because this is very important. You are not able to visualize in your head like a movie, like imagine closing your eyes and picturing every word that is coming out of Noodles' mouth right now. As I speak, you are imagining the words that I am saying as actual pictures in a movie scene, so that way every word I say, you can actually understand in your brain what is happening. The problem is visualization. As we interact with other people or other things, the information is moving so fast when they are interacting with us, or when it is interacting with us, not because it's moving fast, because we're moving too fast in other places with our mind. We have too many other thoughts that are distracting us from focusing what's in front of us. So the best tool you can ever use to focus is to visualize a movie scene in your mind as the person is speaking to you or as the information is presented to you. This will do two things. The first thing is it will teach your brain to slow down and process the information that is being presented to you. So that way you can really focus in on what is being said to you in the information because you're visualizing it. The second thing is that it provides you the opportunity to understand things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to understand because you're not moving at the same speed as the person in front of you. You're moving faster than them. So you are slowing down to visualize and understand, as well as to slow yourself down to pay attention to whatever it is that's in front of you. Your teacher, a person talking to you, information presented on a tutorial as you're learning for school or training for work. So it is very, very important that moving forward, you always make sure you are building pictures in your head of everything you are reading, listening to, and seeing. Everything. If you cannot picture the word baka blaka blaka, which I just made up, you will never understand what the hell I'm saying to you. That's why as human beings we say, what? What are you talking about? I don't understand. We say those words because it's our way of responding through vocal communication to say to other people around us that, hey, I can't process mentally what you just said. If you can't process mentally what someone just said or the information that's in front of you, you cannot visualize, you cannot retain information. So that's going to bring me onto the subject of memory. Memory is dealt with as a movie scene. The way that we deal with memory is based on time. The reason why we can tell time every day, or we can look back in memory in the past, is because time is not really a thing. Time is based on memories. The last time you thought about kicking a ball with a friend, the last time you thought about driving in a car, is a memory that reminds you that so long ago in time you did something, and that lets you know that so much time has gone by. So time is measured based on memory. So if you are not retaining information in your mind, if you're not absorbing and developing a video scene, a movie scene in your mind, you're not retaining information for you to rewind back to. That's the problem. You can't memorize things because of lack of focus, because you're not visualizing things in order for you to memorize things. Memory is based on being able to retain information inside your mind so you can rewind the videotape to go back to information of the past. This is the big reason between the intertwining, or the mix-up, or the blur, the fine line between focus and memory, is that because we're unable to focus, we are unable to save information. We are unable to focus because we are not able to see the information. So make sure that you are seeing the information. And the best thing ever, as you practice visualizing what people are saying to you and what you're reading in a book or seeing on a tutorial or from a lecture or training, the best thing to do as you're visualizing things is to remind yourself that you need to know what you're visualizing. If you can't visualize something that's being said to you, like if someone says something to you and you don't know what that word means, you don't understand what they're saying to you, then the worst thing you could ever do is ignore the word they just said to you, because now you have a missing gap in your memory where you don't know what the hell just happened in the conversation. So the best thing you can do as you become a visualizer is to always ask people what they mean. Always ask. Like if you don't get what they're saying to you, always say, I don't get it. Can you please explain it to me a different way? Or what does that word mean? It is very important for people who are dealing with ADHD to understand visually, to see the picture. And if you can't see it even after someone explains it to you, the best friend you can ever have is Google. Go on Google and search the word up. Like if you just heard a new word and they explained it to you, search the word up on Google Images. Go to Google, search the word up, and then click images. If you could visually see what that word means, you got it. You're going to memorize it, and you're going to start to draw in the ability to remember things that you would never ever in your life be able to memorize otherwise, because you're training your brain to deal with the problem of retaining information due to lack of focus. What's up, Brian? Thank you so much for coming back in. So tonight's therapy gaming. Tonight's a very serious night that I do every Sunday in regard to providing information about sensitive subjects and explaining my own way of how I dealt with it in my own life, and providing tips and support and having discussions about the subjects so that way people can get the help that they need. Tonight we're talking about ADHD. The previous weekends we talked about anxiety and depression. So we, when you're dealing with focus, that's the next thing, is that it is very important for you to discipline your mind to always pay attention to what people are saying by forcing your brain to visualize what's happening. If they're talking too damn fast, tell them to slow down. If they're saying things you don't understand, tell them to explain. If you can't visualize it, go to Google Images, go to YouTube. It's very important for you to do this as part of an ADHD issue, because our brain is incapable of processing information like normal people. This is a method, a technique that I have adapted into my life that has allowed me to retain information not only just like normal people, but faster than normal people. So that's the beauty of dealing with ADHD. Once you've learned to conquer it, as I have, is that once you get to the point where you are advanced enough with training and reprogramming yourself to deal with ADHD, to learn techniques and tips to apply to your life to try and cope with the symptoms and issues of ADHD, you start to gain abilities with processing information that are hyperactive, because we are attention deficit hyperactive people. the hyperactivity in it, the fact that we are able to process information at a faster speed, can be to our advantage. We can process information faster if you discipline and structure yourself to hone in on the skill of processing the information fast. So that's a benefit to it, you know, so it's not all bad news, there's good news. This right here, what I just taught you about visualizing information, is vital to being able to process information faster. Because the thing is, as you continue to focus on what people are saying as words and you are visualizing them as pictures in your mind, you are starting to build up a memory bank, a database inside your brain that becomes faster and faster. Because the more you do things in your brain, the more often you repeat information in your brain, the more bridges get built in the brain. That's how the brain neurologically functions. So as you form habits, the reason why habits are formed is because bridges are literally physically being built inside your brain for information that is redundant, meaning information that you repeat so much that your brain is tired of processing the information. So to reduce energy consumption, it builds a bridge, and then phew, the electricity just fires right through instead of having to sit there and generate chemicals to connect. The chemicals are no longer required because a bridge is built. So that's why bad habits are formed, and it's hard to break habits because you form these bridges. When you use the visualization technique I just spoke about to help you with your focus with ADHD, you're going to build databases inside your mind, store information visually that allow you to process information faster than the average person, because you were forced to train your brain to think about information in a way that is normally not taught to anyone to think that way, to think in that technique. So we're gaining traction over time. So just, you know, look forward to that as an opportunity. If you use this technique, you absolutely need to apply it into your life. Let's see what the next thing is here that I said about focus. So I said sitting still is a mental game where you have to teach yourself to be in a tired mode, like when you are exhausted, so that you can feel chill and act chill. Being chill is mainly an act based on not giving a shit. I apologize for using vulgar words, but sometimes it's just the best and easiest way to express some things in life. Some things, not everything. You don't have to be a nasty, dirty person with a foul mouth. You can sometimes, you know, you can gauge yourself. Everything in life has balance. Anywho, so sitting still is a mental game. Let's talk about that subject in regards to focus, because this has to do with focus, right? Because when you are sitting there, it is very difficult as an ADHD person, as a hyperactive person, to just sit your ass down and sit still because you're so hyperactive. The biggest thing with ADHD that I didn't explain earlier. Earlier I explained the neurological aspect of it and how the condition affects you both like actual physiologically in the brain as well as chemically. But the other thing is energetically. So now we're talking about spirituality, because there is just energy in our body that is part of our body. We're like walking batteries. Okay, think of yourself as a walking battery, and you can have overcharged battery, which has too much charge in it, too much electricity. And what do you think happens when an overcharged battery gets hot, right? That hot is shown by the human body through agitation, anger, frustration, annoyance, boredom. Those symptoms that we feel, that we get agitated, annoyed, irritated, and so forth, is our body telling us. It's an alert system that our mind's triggering. Red flags is telling us that we are overcharged. We have too much energy bottled up. So when we're sitting down and we're overcharged up, that's the problem. We're sitting there fidgeting and stuff because we're just too overcharged. We have too much energy to deal with, and we can't sit still because of it. We cannot help it. That's why when people tell us to sit quiet, we get annoyed because we're like, dude, I can't sit quiet. If I could, I would. Well, you can't because you're overcharged. It's an energy issue. It's an internal battery issue that is spiritual and physical, because you have like chi energy, like the energy in your body that's part of like the chemistry and so forth of your body. But then you also have spiritual energy, which is just like how you feel in the current state of like where you're at as a person. You know, are you too excited? Are you too agitated? There's like anytime you have negative energies or thoughts or feelings, which I explained to you guys, thoughts are up here, feelings are down here. When you have negative thoughts or feelings, that is just excess energy is what that is. It's not natural, it's not normal for us to feel that way. So don't think that that's normal. It's not. It's just that we have grown accustomed to, or we've trained ourselves through life to think that it's normal to feel that way, because no one has ever been able to help us understand that it's not normal, and no one knows how to help us deal with the problem so that we can condition ourselves or reprogram ourselves to be normal and not deal with that excess energy. Excess energy is what we're dealing with when we're just sitting there. So the big thing is that there's ways to train your body, like exercise and stuff, to deal with excess energy. But I'm talking, when I go into therapy gaming discussions, I talk about simple solutions, because like I said earlier, I want to give you the opportunity to have a small step to just get that little glimmer of hope, that little bit of boost, that happiness that you never get to feel often because you have a mental condition, right? Whether it's anxiety, depression, ADHD. You have an issue that is making it difficult for you to feel satisfied or happy or excited. So if we could just get a small little piece of the pie, it feels so good, it's big to us. So a small piece of the pie, a simple solution to dealing with agitation when we're sitting down, is to have something to fiddle with. Have something to fiddle with in your hand, fiddle with your own fingers, have something to squish, have gum to chew in your mouth, just even like, you know, moving your leg back and forth. Doing those things are not just things that we do because we're bored. That's what people have taught us to think. We're doing those things because we are too energetic. We have too much energy bottled up. And so our body is naturally trying to get rid of that excess energy by fidgeting. That way, it takes away from the agitation from our brain, because our brain is overwhelmed by the fact that we have so much energy in our body. And so it's trying to distract itself from the energy and focus on what's going on in front of it instead. And so we jitter, we shake, we twitch, we do whatever to try and get rid of that excess energy, because there's no other way to deal with it. That is the unhealthy but safest, quickest solution to dealing with that excess energy. Not trying to be rude, just wondering, are we going to go play art? This is a therapy gaming session. As you can see in the title, Sundays are not really as much about gaming. Fridays and Saturdays are. So I don't know if I'm playing Ark. If you're here to play a game, don't be here. I'm not here to play a game right now. Maybe later, but I'm not sure, okay? So the agitation, right? The simplest solution is for you to kind of have a technique for you to deal with that excess energy when you're sitting there. This is important to the information that I was talking about with focus, the subject of focus, because if you can find a way to get rid of that excess energy, it'll stop agitating your mind, and then your mind will be less irritated, less annoyed, less bored, and you can focus more on what's going on in front of you. So focus is really affected by irritability, agitation, and boredom, caused by excess energy in your body that can get in the way of you retaining or absorbing information that's in front of you, whether someone's talking to you, or you're getting trained on a job, or you're dealing with a lecture in a classroom. So it's very important for you to find something to help you with that, you know, when you're in those situations. And if people say something to you, then you're annoying them because you're tapping or something, you know, be considerate. Tapping is annoying. Do something else, you know, like play, like sometimes I'll have my hand in my pocket and I'll just play with like my pocket like cloth material, or like I'll just, you know, rub my fingers together, just whatever it takes to kind of stimulate your body to get rid of that excess energy. But be mindful of other people. Don't annoy other people, because we have to live in society, right? We have to interact and engage other people. Let's go to the next thing that has to do with focus. Next thing is, let's see, so let's check that off so that we don't go back to that, right? So here's the next thing on focus. Paying attention to teachers or lecturers or a boss is based on how distracted you are. So always go for being as close as possible to the speaker, so that way you can draw the most focus onto them and eliminate the surrounding distractions around you. Be sure to write things down, as it helps you to think through what the speaker is saying, and always ask for meeting or lecture outlines to help guide your brain tag along with the information in front of you. So this is again another thing about focus. When we are in an environment and we have to absorb information from a teacher or a boss because of training, excuse me, or anything that's in front of us, right? It makes it harder for an ADHD person to pay attention to the person in front of them or the screen in front of them if there are more things in the way. Let's say you're sitting back here and the person or the subject or the TV screen or whatever is all the way in the front here, and then you have all of these people right in between you. Remember in the beginning I talked about how the biggest issue we have is the clutter of noises and the voices in the head and things being in front of you, like all the mess. Objectify people, right? Think of people as objects. The more objects you have in front of you, the more obstacles you have in front of you to distract you from the fact that you're trying to focus on something that's more valuable to you at that time. So the easiest thing you can do when it comes to paying attention to your teacher, your boss, and so forth is to get close. Get close and personal. Ask to sit at the front. Always, always ask to sit at the front. I know this is difficult because I mentioned earlier tonight how I'm going to talk about how ADHD intertwines or connects with anxiety and depression. So if you're dealing with the anxiety because of the ADHD, then it's going to be difficult for you to ask to sit at the front of a classroom or the front of a meeting because you're anxious. But if you look back on my anxiety session that I did last week, you will get techniques and tips that will allow you to kind of cope with that kind of situation. So that way you connect it with today's subject of ADHD to kind of help you get out of that uncomfort zone, that not being comfort, because you need to do these things to try and help you live a healthier life, a more successful life. The biggest, best thing you can do as an ADHD person is eliminate clutter. People are clutter. So get as close as you can to that screen. Get as close as you can to that teacher or that boss or whoever, whatever it is that you're trying to pay attention to. The closer you are, the less stuff is going to be in your blurred vision of your eyes to distract you from what's in front of you. And if you're dealing with a situation where you need to listen to as well as see with your eyes, then you need to also reduce audible noise, hearing noise. And the best solution for hearing noise is headphones, especially noise canceling headphones. The headphones I'm wearing right now are made by a company called Skull Candy. Skull Candy specializes in making high quality audio systems like headphones for cheap, okay? So you can get headphones like these on Amazon for like 30 bucks. And they're super good. And they cancel out noise so well. You don't even understand. So it would be fantastic for an ADHD person to be able to afford and get a tool called a pair of good earmuff headphones to cancel out noise, or even earplug headphones to cancel out noise and reduce noise. So that way, when you're in an atmosphere environment or a place where you need to really focus in on what's going on and you're having focus issues, which is our subject right now, then you can really just cover your ear to distract you or stop all the noise that's distracting you, that is getting in the way of your focus. And then bring yourself closer to your subject. It's very important for you to be able to be right there so that you can eliminate all the crap that's around you. Again, as ADHD people, we already have too much crap in our head, too many voices and too much noise, too many thoughts going on. So we need to reduce everything we can from our sensory so that we can focus in on the information in front of us to the best of our ability. Sir, 11:25, not till 3 hours here. Thank you so much, Suki, for your support. Okay, let's see what else we got for focus here when it comes to... Yeah, so here's the next thing about focus. I said when it comes to dealing with distractions like social media, shut it off, put it away. You need to be if you need to be focusing in class or work. When it comes to distractions, the sounds, put some headphones on, which I just talked about, or even tunes, depending on if you're studying or reading information. Tunes can help you distract or cancel out noise that's around you. Yeah, I'm going to go into deeper detail about that. I'm just reading it out right now. When it comes to visual distractions, go somewhere else and face something else to tell people that you have some issues with distraction. Yeah, so this is kind of a reiteration to some point, but it has some extra information or detail on there about focus. So one of the biggest things with us being ADHD is we get so annoyed and so agitated and so distracted that we decide, we're done with whatever's in front of us, and we move on to something else that makes us more excited And usually whatever makes us more excited is always a phone, a tablet, a computer, social media, a video game, an app. So when you are in a place, that's what I'm saying in this note that I wrote, when you are in a place where you need to focus in on your teacher, focus in on your boss, focus in on your task, on your project, on your objective, when you need to really focus in on something and you can't have distractions because you really got to get it done, because you have a timeline or someone is paying attention to you, you could get fired or get in trouble because you're not paying attention. Get rid of those distractions like social media and stuff. If you have a device that dings and rings, turn that shit off. If you have like vibrate, put it in vibrate, put it in a bag, get rid of it. If you can't find it in yourself to get rid of the phone because you're too worried, you have anxiety also, and you're too worried about a loved one, a parent, or whatever trying to contact you because something's going on in your life and you don't want to get rid of the phone because of that, then just log out, sign out of Facebook, sign out of Twitter, get rid of them one way or another. There's ways to do this so that you can have a more focused environment, so that you can really pay attention to the things that you need to pay attention to, so you can be more successful at whatever it is you're doing. When it comes to distractions that are getting in the way of your success, nothing else matters but your success. Get rid of the crap that's in your way. Objectify everything. Get rid of the people. Get rid of the phone, get rid of the tablet, get rid of everything. And if there's people that you are interacting with that are getting in your way because they're talking when they shouldn't be, they're distracting you with stuff they shouldn't, then you need to explain to them, okay? You need to make it clear to them that you have a focus issue and that you need them to go the hell away and leave you alone, not talk to you, so you could focus on whatever it is you're doing. This is very, very important, because if people distract you from doing what it is you need to do, you're never going to be successful at two things. The first thing is accomplishing your goals, right? And the second thing is training your brain to focus. How can you ever train your brain to focus if you don't ever have the chance to focus, if there's too many distractions? So you have to create a safe environment for yourself by eliminating distractions, including human beings or pets and dogs and stuff, so that way you can make a way to program yourself, to teach your brain to build the bridges permanently to start naturally focusing. That's how I did it for myself. I'm able to focus so well and stay on subject so well, where I was not able to do any of this in the past, because I've trained myself to deal with these circumstances exactly the way that I'm presenting this information to you. I found techniques to deal with this stuff. You just got to tell people to go away. You got to get rid of the pets. You got to close the door behind you. You got to do whatever it takes to make sure you're not getting distracted. Let's see what else we have for focus areas. Yeah, so this relates to focus as well. If you have too much information in your head, like ideas and projects and so forth, always jot them down so that they can be out of your mind and safely stored somewhere where you can go back to them and feel comforted that you can forget about it. So a big problem with focus with ADHD people is, again, we keep thinking too much. But this right here is talking about people who think so much that they're idealists, they're visionaries. I'm one of those people. I'm a visionary. I'm constantly coming up with new ideas, new projects, new businesses, new inventions, all sorts of stuff. I have black books, plural, just like pages and pages and pages of hundreds and hundreds of ideas and projects. What I'm saying here is that to allow yourself to declutter, to organize your brain, to focus, so you can remove excess distractions, get rid of stuff that distracts you. The best thing you can do if you're a thinker is to jot the stuff down as soon as you get the thought, so that way you can forget about it. You could say, all right, I wrote it down, I'll get back to it later. When you can say to yourself, I wrote it down, I'll get back to it later, you're gonna compartmentalize that information onto a page outside of your head so that you can just go back to it later. It's okay if you don't get back to it because it's written down. It's permanent. In your brain, it's not permanent. On paper, it is. So in your brain, you're going to forget shit because you already have too much crap in your head, but on paper, you're not going to forget it. So it's super cool It's super handy dandy to be able to put it down on paper for many, many, many reasons instead of keeping it in your head. Don't do that to yourself. Put information down on paper as often as you can. It doesn't have to be paper for people who don't want to carry around a notebook, okay? There are applications that we can use on every device that we have in our life. 99% of us have some kind of device. The number one tool I can advise to everybody to apply to their life is the most beneficial tool you could ever use in your life. I vouch for it. I live by it. I use it. I apply it. I share it. I collaborate with people using it. It is the most powerful tool I have in my life for note taking. Is this application, this app called OneNote. One word, OneNote. Okay, it's made by Microsoft. It's part of the Office suite. So if you have Microsoft Office on your computer, you already have OneNote on your computer. It comes with it. You can't get it, just comes with it. Okay, but you can get OneNote on everything, on Android, on freaking Linux, on Apple, on Windows, on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer, on your smartwatch. Like literally, you get this thing anywhere. Okay. So there's no excuse for you to not download the application called OneNote. It's free. The reason why it's so handy and powerful is because you can write notes on there and bullet and checkbox and star and exclamation and add value of importance and flag and add reminders and add timers, and the list just goes on. It is a note-taking machine that is free. You log into it with your email address and you will go with you everywhere. So the beauty of that, what makes that powerful, is that I can log into OneNote on my computer at home, type in all the stuff that I need to remember for groceries, which I do this, go to the store, open up my phone, open up the same app, OneNote, that's also signed in with my email, and everything's right there that I just wrote at home. That's super powerful because now, no matter where you're sitting down at, there's no excuse for you to not take notes. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on your tablet, you can do it on your laptop, you can do it on your computer, at your desktop, and the notes will always be with you everywhere you go. And here's the cool thing. I said that I am a visionary, I'm a thinker, I'm an idealist. I have black books on OneNote that are locked. You can password protect your notes also. So I have password protected black books on my OneNote system that allow me to also add these ideas as they pop up, because I always have my phone with me, everybody does, or I always have some kind of electronic device with me near me that I can just pop on and type in a bullet, type in a checkbox, whatever I need to type in to put that note down and information. The other thing is that OneNote allows you to save information that you otherwise would not be able to save. Like for example, if you go to a website and you're researching information about something you're looking up, and you go and copy the picture onto OneNote, you drag it or copy whatever you do, it's gonna bring the link of the original page with it, even text. So every time you add notes, video clips, audio, you can add all this stuff. You can record your voice on OneNote. When you add all this stuff, it adds a timer, location, link, all that information, that metadata in there to remind you where you originally got it from, so you can go back to your sources and look up the information if it doesn't make sense when you copied it. So it's super powerful, super handy. One of the things I use it for with my family is that I'm able to add groceries to a list on my OneNote, and the rest of my family are also logged into OneNote on their devices. If they're at the grocery store and not home, I already added everything to the list for them. They can just open up OneNote and see an up-to-date list of everything we're missing. So there's like so many things you can use it for. Very powerful tool. I highly advise everybody use it for everything. And the way it's structured exactly like a notebook. You have a notebook, and then you have sections in a notebook, and then you have pages in between the sections. So you could do that in OneNote. And I just have books and books and books, and I have books for different subjects, like books for different business, books for different projects, books for different like things. And then in those books I have different sections, and then in those sections I have different pages with different information. There's also cool things also, like on my phone, when I like a music that a song that I'm listening to on Pandora, I just go to the song, I look the name up on Google, and then I say on Google share it, and I share it to OneNote, and it saves it for me. So I have like all my favorite songs saved on OneNote automatically. So there's like all these cool things you could do with the application that's just absolutely mind-blowing and super powerful, including you could connect it to Outlook if you're an Outlook user, you're a business person or whatever. If you have Outlook to manage your emails and your calendar, OneNote will connect directly to Outlook and automatically sync calendar events. Even emails can get saved to OneNote. It's stupid powerful, I'm telling you. But anyway, so let's get back to this, right? OneNote, I brought it up because it's vital. It's absolutely vital that you put down information in black and white. Open up OneNote, the application on your devices, put the information down that's in your mind so you can get the clutter out of your head and you can draw focus to what's in front of you. You can stop thinking about that idea and project and tell yourself, oh, I can think about that later. It's in OneNote, forget about it. Now you just erased information that it's just noise that's getting in the way, another voice that's gone, so you could focus in. We're talking about focus, right? Let's move on to the next one. Yeah, so here's another thing I wrote. I said music to shift energy focus areas in the brain and drive up neurotransmitting activity. What I mean by that, sorry, I'm a nerd. I write things in a nerdy way. What I mean by that is that you can use music to condition your brain to think at a different speed and your heart, because scientifically music does not just get listened to by your mind, it also affects the rhythm of your body, your heart rate, your lung air intake and exhaustion, and so forth. So the rhythm, the speed of the music can affect the speed at which you're focusing. You can use the music as an ADHD person for two things. I spoke about earlier about drowning out the noise around you in your environment, so that way you could draw in your focus on what is in front of you if you're reading. Obviously someone's talking to you, you can't do that, but if you're reading, you could drown out everything so that you can focus in on what you're reading, so that way you can not be distracted by like someone walking by or someone shouting in the back hall of your house or in the office or something, you know, or in the classroom if there's people being loud and it's distracting you. Music can be a tool to create more noise that can block out exterior noise to stop your ears from distracting you from focusing on your eyes and this information that's in front of you. Now, the different type of music you choose will affect how you process information. So it's very important that as you choose music to listen to, that you're very careful to the type of music you're listening to. Upbeat music, chill music, medium music, hardcore music, aggressive music, soft music, peaceful music, excited music. Different types of feeling, emotional music will affect you differently. And the big thing for ADHD people is you want to eliminate music that has words in it, because the words are just another layer of something you're going to be thinking about. You're going to think about the words that are in the song. Don't listen to music that has words in the song, so that way you have one less layer of something to think about. Just use the music as a noise and mood control system, not a distraction. If you need to distract yourself because you're not focusing on something important, then go ahead and listen to music to chill out and have good vibes. But do not use it as a means to focus. For focus, you should have music that does not have freaking people saying crap on it, because that crap that they're saying you're going to think about to sing, to think about the subject they're talking about, to think about the feelings that they're talking about. There's just so much crap, noise, and we want to avoid noise as ADHD people. So avoid it, stay away from it. Listen to EDM music, listen to classical music, listen to you know, there's tons of music. You guys know there's tons of stuff out there. It's not like you're limited in options. There's like millions of stuff you can listen to. I personally go to EDM. I listen to different versions of EDM, different genres of EDM music to control the vibrations of like what speed my brain is functioning at. Like, I'll give you examples. For example, if I'm coding, I'll put on really aggressive EDM music like dubstep or something like that to kind of just like whoa, whoa, like literally just drown everything. And that way my eyes are just so focused in on the code that's in front of me, and that way I could just process just the code and just forget about everything else. The noise just kind of drowns everything. But if I'm focused on writing, I'll put on like really chill, like trance or really chill, like classical music or something like that, something really slow and really chill, so that way I can lower the volume on it, because I'm not really listening to the music. What I'm doing is I'm using the music as a noise canceller, and I just lower the volume really low so I could just barely hear the music, and it drowns out all the people in my house or around me. And now I can really focus in and think about mentally about what it is that I'm writing. So different speeds and different tones of music will affect you differently depending on what kind you listen to, so you got to be really careful with that. Let's see here. Keep reminding the task you forget. Okay, that's about forgetfulness. Give yourself. That's about procrastination. Yeah, so here's something about focus, right? Creating list to tasks to track. Creating a list to track tasks on a daily. Okay, so with OneNote, for example, which I keep talking about. Excuse me for a second, my mouth is getting dry. With OneNote, you would have the ability, with anything really, with taking notes on anything, but OneNote is just easier because you could just use your finger to tap checkboxes as you complete things, because that's what I'm about to talk about. The best thing you could do with organization, with focus, to kind of remove clutter in your life, to focus in on what you're getting done as an ADHD person. I do this with everything. I have dozens and dozens of books in OneNote and hundreds of sections and pages. So I literally go through and OneNote everything I think about every day and structure all my projects, all my tasks, all my achievements, goals, everything. Okay? So that's what I'm talking about right now. The subject of breaking down your life so that you can structure out noise, eliminate crap, and focus in on priorities. It is very important to do what's called subordinate and prioritize your life on the daily. Okay, so every single day, as an ADHD person, every day you need to go through the challenge of making yourself create a list of things you need to get done for the next day that you think you can achieve in that day. Like, how much stuff can you get done in that day? And it's okay if you overdo it, because what you can do is that you can check off all the stuff you get done in that day, and then the stuff you didn't get done, shift it to the next day, erase the old stuff. Okay, but this is super important, because the problem with us being ADHD is that we're so distracted by so much junk that's going on that when we go through our day, we're forgetting about everything that we need to get done because there's too much crap in our head. So the best thing you can do is to create a list of things you need to get done and checkbox them out of your way, so that way you can draw in focus on the stuff you need to get done and finish what you need to get done. Not freaking leave it behind and not forget it. We forget a lot because of our inability to focus in on information. So use listing, tasking, and checkboxing so that to your advantage, so that way you could go through a list and get shit done. The next thing that has to do with the same subject with regards to tasking out your life on the daily is creating reminders. This is very huge. Okay, I use this technique to train a couple kids in my life that were dealing with ADHD themselves, and it was very successful at training them, change their entire mindscape so that they can get out of the ADHD mindset of forgetfulness, clumsiness, and being able to focus. And the big thing that I did to help them was break down their day, literally from waking up in the morning, stepping out of bed, brushing your teeth, scrubbing your face, eating breakfast, like literally tasking out all of that. So that way, the reason why you do that, even though it's tedious and redundant, is because if you task every single thing out you do in your day, you can train your brain to program it to build bridges. Remember I was talking about neurologically we build bridges as we redundantly do things over and over again. If you create a task list of the things you do every single minute of the day that you have to get done, you have to brush your teeth, you have to make breakfast, you have to grab your keys before you leave the house. If you task out every single detail and you look at that task list every single day, it's only inevitable, which means that no matter what, it's going to happen, okay? It's only inevitable that you're gonna program your brain to build a bridge to permanently remember those tasks, to permanently remember to do things that you normally cannot remember to do. So it's super important to do that. And get this, this is the special technique I was talking about that helped the kids, okay? Adding alarms at certain intervals, at certain times of the day to remind you to do things. Eat breakfast, make lunch, do homework, play the flute, fix the car, like pick up groceries, go to the post office. You make a reminder, like an alarm. Literally, you can have like 30, 40, 50, 100 alarms in your phone. And every alarm, you just put a title on it, like fix car, groceries, whatever. As you task out your day on OneNote, you can break that down into alarms of things that you redundantly do every day and have those alarms go off every single day to constantly remind you at every time of the day that you need to get shit done, you need to get done, so you can draw in focus on the things that are valuable in your life and push out the things that are not valuable, because as I said, you're supposed to be prioritizing and subordinating on this list, which means all the stuff that is the most important stuff goes to the top of the list, and all the stuff that is not important goes to the bottom or just doesn't make it on the list at all. Just erase it, okay? This way you can get rid of noise, again, because the problem is we're talking about the subject of focus. You can't focus if you have too much crap to think about. So draw focus by eliminating the crap. That way you can focus on what's more important to you at the time that you're trying to focus, okay? This is super, super valuable stuff, man. When it comes to cleaning up the clutter in your life, objectifying everything, getting rid of the junk, and then teaching yourself to visualize things is the second step. And then the third thing is making sure that you are creating, task lists, that you're breaking down your days, okay? If you can break down your days into little micro steps, then it gives you an easier way to kind of get through everything you need to get through. And like I mentioned, there's going to be a lot of intertwining between ADHD, anxiety, and depression. They affect each other. And this is part of it, is that you're going to have anxiety about challenging your ADHD and dealing with it with the solutions I'm providing you because of anxiety. And you can challenge your anxiety and get rid of your anxiety, or deal with your anxiety and cope with your anxiety by doing something as simple as creating a task list and breaking down your day in detail. This way, you don't have to sit there and fear what's about to happen. You just look at the list, and the list is kind of like your puppet master, and it tells you what to do, and you just follow instructions. It makes less to think about if you could just follow instructions. The less we can think about, the easier our ADHD life will become. That's what it boils down to. Yeah, so a big problem with going back to the building out the list and task listing yourself is that you need to break down your daily schedule, but you also need to schedule in general. It's very important for an ADHD person to schedule themselves out. Here's the reason why. As ADHD people, we have a problem by being hyperactive, that we take on too much crap to do. We say yes to everything. We're yes people. We're like, yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, because we have so much energy mentally that we're just like, oh, yeah, I can do that. But you can't really. It's impossible, okay? It's not, take it from a person who's done too much, all right? It's not natural. It's not healthy. It's not normal. It's not okay to do too much. So the way to become a no person, to teach yourself, to kind of eliminate yourself from saying yes to things that you can't do because you already have too many things on your plate. You already have too much stuff to get done. You don't have any more room to do more things to say yes to, is to schedule yourself out, knowing that you're going to put a calendar, a digital calendar on your phone. I just used a freaking phone calendar that connects to Google, which is great because my email's connected to it. So I just sign in and I can see my whole calendar on my computer, on my phone, anywhere I go by using Google Calendar. So it's very beneficial to be able to transition to different devices and stay with my schedule all the time. And everything you put on there, if you got to go to the vet, you put it on your calendar. 3 p.m. I go to the vet on Friday. 2 p.m. on Saturday, I need to visit my parents. 6 p.m. on Sunday, I need to go water the grass. You know, you add stuff to your calendar that is like bigger tasks that you need to accomplish that take big chunks of time. So that way you can look at your calendar when someone asks you to do something, and you can learn to say no, because you could say, no, sorry, I am already booked that day. I already have too much going on that day. Now you have found a way, a tool, a system to teach yourself to say no, so you don't overbook yourself and overwhelm yourself with stress, which creates anxiety. You can eliminate anxiety from your life by scheduling out your life, by creating task lists for your days and schedules for your weeks. Okay, this is very important stuff. Doing things immediately, that's going to be procrastination, so we'll come back to that. Use reminders or alarms to stay on task. I already talked about using alarms so that you could stay on task. If you're having trouble remembering your task list that you put on OneNote or on a piece of paper, use alarms on your phone to remind you. That way you can't forget, because the alarm's going to go off and you'll be like, why the hell is my alarm going off? Oh, I got to do this one thing. And then you stop doing what you're doing right now and move on to the next thing. That is teaching you, it's programming you to be normal, because that's what normal people do. They don't just do everything at once or try to do one thing once. That's hyper focusing, which is not normal. What they do is they go through tasks in iterations, in little chunks, and they get things done as they can, and they break their days down into little chunks of things that they can get done, and if they don't finish it, they move on to it to the next day or later on in the day. That's normal. So the only way to train yourself as an ADHD person to do that is to use reminders and alarms to ding off and get your attention, to tell you, hey, you gotta move on, buddy. I'm sorry you're not done with your flute lesson or whatever. You gotta go on to eating dinner, or to meeting up with your friends, or to whatever it is. Because even simple things like meeting up with friends is something that is difficult for us ADHD people to accomplish, because we forget and we can't schedule because we don't schedule. But if you schedule shit out, then you're not going to forget anymore, and you're not going to let your friends down anymore. You're not going to let your work down anymore. You're not going to let school down anymore. You're not going to forget your homework. You're not going to forget your chores. You're not going to forget your errands. You can't forget when you have everything down in black and white. You have it broken down, ready for you to challenge every day, and you have calendar scheduled reminders to let you know, hey, this is what you got to do for the day. Make sure you remember this stuff. You check your calendar every day, you know? Break down your projects or objectives is fun. So yeah, breaking down your projects' objectives into smaller tasks, that's kind of what I was just talking about, is that there's no such thing as getting a freaking 3-month project done in one day. But ADHD people have this stubborn ability to think that they can get the world accomplished in one day. But it's physically impossible. So what you have to do, the natural, normal thing to do, is to break these projects down into smaller chunks or tasks. Break it down over time, and then add like an hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours, 5 hours, how much time you think is important to spend on this particular thing every day. Add it to your calendar, add it to your schedule every day, to your task list, add it to your calendar every day, so that way you don't overbook yourself when you have shit you need to get done. Break your projects down into smaller chunks, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. Because we're ADHD and we have attention deficit disorder, we're unable to pay attention for long periods of time. We become fidgety and we feel like we're in a cage. The best thing you can do is to break down your projects into smaller chunks, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 30 minutes, or an hour, and then take breaks, like 30 minutes into it, get out of your chair, get out of your bed, whatever it is you're doing, walk away for 5 minutes. Then come back to it. And a reminder, an alarm on your phone can help facilitate that. You can even add an alarm for breaks. You could say, ding, 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 oh, I have to take a break. All right, and that forces you to step away from what you're doing. Take a mental breather, right? Clear your mind, go stare at some birds, make fun of the dogs next door, stare at the chicken pooping or something, and then come back to your project and feel refreshed. Feel like you're not in a jail anymore, because that's the big problem we deal with when we're ADHDs. We feel like we're like about to explode because we have too much damn energy. So we can deal with managing that energy by stepping away from what we're doing, by giving ourselves breaks, by breaking down projects into smaller chunks. Never make yourself do a project in a short period of time. Break it down into chunks and add little breaks in there to help your ADHD, to help you cope mentally, to help you cope spiritually. Take small breaks to deal. Okay, I just talked about that for. So forcing yourself to focus This is a big thing. This is the #1 technique that I personally use. It's not for everyone, so I don't encourage everyone to use this, but I do want to make it available to you as a tool, as an option, because there's going to be other people who are built like me. I'm an excessive person. I am an extremist. I'm aggressive. I'm overly passionate. Is the thing. So as an overly passionate person, I like to go all in. I have this attitude of 100% or nothing at all. Like, go home, like, I'll go do it well or don't do it at all. Like, there's so many ways of saying it, right? The cup is full, not half empty, not half full, like 100% full or not empty at all. Like, I have that attitude. So for me, this worked, okay? If there's other people out there, this may work for you, because having that attitude creates discipline. It creates a way to force yourself to do things that normal people can't force themselves to do. So it's actually kind of a blessing if you use it right. And this has to do with forcing yourself to focus. My apologies. When you are doing something, right? As an ADHD person, you have the irritability where you are feeling like you're about to explode and you need to get up and get away. You need to condition yourself, teach yourself, program yourself to deal with the project that's in front of you for longer periods of time. That's part of discipline. It's forcing yourself to do something that you would not normally do for the benefit of a long-term benefit. Like, over time, it's going to become a better situation for you. It's going to be better for you, healthier for you, to force yourself right now in a short period of time to push yourself even further to focus longer. Okay, so let's say you're working on homework. Normally you notice 30 minutes into your homework you get distracted because you're agitated. You need to walk away. Wouldn't it be nice if you could squeeze in an extra 5 minutes, an extra 5 minutes, an extra 5 minutes? Like, you keep squeezing in 5 minutes, forcing yourself to focus. That's what I'm talking about in this note. Squeeze in an extra 5 minutes as often as you can, because what that does is it builds the bridge neurologically in your brain to create a habit that teaches your brain to process information for longer periods of time, to have longer attention span, to be able to focus for longer periods of time. You can only do that through discipline. There's no other way to condition or discipline, to structure or reprogram. Those are all the same thing. Reprogram your brain or build bridges in your mind permanently. There's no other way to do it but to first force yourself. So just make sure that you're paying attention to time. This is a very valuable thing to say to ADHD people. Pay attention to time, look at the clock, maybe your alarm went off. You say to yourself, I'm going to push it for 5 more minutes. And you just push it for 5 more minutes, then 10, then 20. Whatever you want to do, whatever you feel comfortable with, eventually you end up like me. I was not able to pay attention for longer than like 5 minutes, okay? Now, I can pay attention for like 4, 8, 10, 15 hours straight because I disciplined myself over years and years of training to build bridges in my mind, to program myself to focus for longer periods of time. And it just made it comfortable for my brain to function that way because I built bridges that were not there naturally. Again, I said that part of the neurological problem with ADHD people is that we have a deficiency. It's some parts of the brain are smaller. They have not fully developed like normal people. But we can build them out because the brain is just another muscle. Everything that is meat in your body is muscle, and we are designed to build and destroy. We break the muscle by working out, it heals itself and rebuilds it. Our body's built to naturally fix itself. So if you do the same thing with your brain, you train it, you break it down by forcing it to do things that it's not used to doing, you're going to train the muscle to build memory, to build structure that was not naturally there. Okay? It's possible. I've done it myself. Let's see what else we got here. Eliminate distractions, we got that. We talked about that. That one I'm going to leave for last because that's a very sensitive topic. Bring all the thing. Yeah, so I'm gonna repeat this again because it's that important. It's so important I should say it again. It is very important for you to understand how memory works, okay? Memory is based on visualizing. If you cannot visualize what a person is saying to you when they are speaking, if you cannot visualize what a piece of literature is saying when you are reading, if you cannot visualize what a teacher, a tutor, or a video is saying to you when you're paying attention, if you can't picture it in your mind as a video or a picture, you will never memorize it because your brain doesn't know how to process the information. This is 100% important that you make sure you visualize everything. And if you can't visualize it, look it up or ask questions. This is very important, okay? Now, part of that visualization or part of that information being retained in your memory has to do with repetition. I keep talking about building the bridges neurologically in your mind. In order for you to remember stuff, in order for you to stop having bad memory, which we have as ADHD people the worst, you need to train your brain to memorize. And the best way to train your brain to memorize is by doing things redundantly, by thinking about information over and over again. So the number one memory tip I can give you, okay? The number one memory tip I can give you is to make sure that when you have to remember something, let's say, I will use a theoretical situation, right? A hypothetical situation. Let's say someone says to you, hey, can you please remind me to drink coffee at 5 p.m., right? It's your job to remember at 5 p.m. to tell your friend that they need to drink coffee, but you're gonna forget. Why do you forget? You forget because you didn't first visualize it, that you need to go and, like, you have to literally make a video in your head of, like, walking up to your friend with a cup of coffee in your hand and then handing it to them and seeing the smile on their face. You got to visualize the whole movie scene, the whole thing. That's the first thing. The number one thing that I was talking about is repetition. If it is currently 12 p.m. in the afternoon and in 5 hours at 5 p.m. you need to remind your friend of drinking coffee for the next 5 hours, you cannot stop saying in your voice in your head, I need to remember to tell Joe to drink coffee at 5 p.m. I need to remember to tell Joe he needs to drink coffee at 5 p.m. I need to remember to tell Joe he needs to drink coffee at 5 p.m. I need to remember to tell Joe he needs to drink coffee. You cannot stop that voice from repeating, ever, until you get to your task, which is 5 p.m. Remember to get coffee for Joe or get him to drink coffee at 5 p.m. You cannot stop. Listen very closely to what I'm saying to you, because this is the most valuable piece of information when it comes to memory. The reason why you forget so much, the reason why you have such a hard time memorizing, is because you are not repeating information in your head until it is completed. If it takes 5 months to complete a task that you need to remember, for the next 5 months, you're going to have a voice embedded in your head that will not stop repeating that you need to do whatever it is you need to do in 5 months. That's how memory works. Memory is about repetition. If you do not repeat information to the human neurology, to the human brain, it will not save it. It will not build a bridge to store the information. Every time you save a piece of information in the brain, just like a video game, it actually builds an actual path in the brain neurologically to retain that information. So if you stop repeating it, it will disintegrate and get rid of that bridge and build something else. That's how memory works. So if you're not repeating it, you're not going to build a bridge long enough to remember whatever it is you need to remember. Very, very important stuff I'm talking about. First, make sure you can even see in your mind what the hell the person's talking about, okay? Then, make sure you never stop repeating it until you get to it. Never. You just don't stop repeating until you get to it. I taught that to some kids that had ADHD. They went from being absolute clumsy people and absolute forgetful people, forgetting their backpacks for school, forgetting their lunch for school, to just being like soldiers, like on top of their shit, remembering everything because of the techniques I'm talking about today. So these things I'm talking about are not just things that helped me. They're things that I've actually applied to other people's lives and have helped change their life with dealing with ADHD. Okay? Repeating, learning, control voices in your head by taming them. Okay, that one's complicated, so we'll leave that one for last. Controlling sleep cycle. Okay. Yeah, so a big problem with ADHD we also experience is lack of sleep. We have so many voices in our mind going on, so many thoughts that are processing in our mind Then when we go to sleep at night and we try to rest, we can't, because our brain is so active, there's so much happening, energy is happening up here, that we can't shut down. And that's the thing, is that going to sleep, part of that process is shutting down, lowering the activity of your brain so your body can go into regenerative mode, so it can heal itself. That's the whole point of sleep. The problem is, as ADHD people, we have a bazillion freaking voices in our head, so we can't get them to shut up so that we can go to sleep. This affects the fact that we are not able to regenerate, which is the whole point of sleeping. If you can't regenerate your body, if you can't heal your body, when you wake up the next day with lack of sleep, you actually have lack of regeneration, lack of healing. The problem with that is because you missed out on healing certain parts of your body because you didn't sleep well enough, your body is agitated, because that's an alarm system that your brain is getting triggered to tell you, hey, something is wrong. And what's wrong is you need some sleep, buddy. Okay, that's the problem. But there's nothing you can do about it, because we live in a society and a culture where when you have to get things done, you got to get it done. You don't have a choice. You have to go. So whether you're tired or not, whether you got sleep or not, you got to go. So it is very important as ADHD people for us to deal with the condition of sleep deprivation. Oh, okay. What's up, Paradox? Thank you so much for being here. I have ADHD and I take Concentra for it. Yes, I talked about in the beginning about medication. I'm sure I'll reiterate most of this stuff. I usually summarize at the end of my my stream. But yeah. So as I was saying, controlling your sleep, okay, is very important, because it creates the ability for your body to feel regenerated, feel healed, so that your body can feel less agitated. A huge problem we have with dealing with ADHD is that we are in an agitated state. We're annoyed, we're irritated, we're pissed off, we're upset, we're unhappy, etc. Because, not because we're choosing to, but because our body is not healthy, because of the issues that we deal with, like the sleep deprivation, or the inability to focus, or the too many voices in the head, or the agitation where we're sitting down from over excess or too much energy in our body. Now, if you add sleep deprivation on top of everything else that we have to deal with as ADHD people, then you're going to deal with the problem of being irritated as soon as you wake up. And guess what? There goes your whole freaking day, because you just started your day in an agitated mode. So it's very important for you to try to find ways to deal with your sleep so that you can make sure you get enough sleep at night, so that you can wake up, revive or revitalize or healed the next day, and not be as agitated, so you can have a better chance of successfully challenging and beating and dealing with your ADHD for that day. Every day is going to be a different story based on what happens in your life eventfully, okay? So with dealing with sleep, there's a few things, right? The first thing is that with sleep itself as a science, one of the issues we have is that sleep is dealt with our body. The way our body makes our body go to sleep is that chemicals are created that allow us to feel drowsy and go to sleep. Those chemicals are created as a byproduct, as a effect of how much light we take into our eye and how much light is not in our eye. So having the sunlight will tell our brain that it's daytime and we will be awake. Not having sunlight will tell our brain that it's nighttime and will make us get drowsy. That's why when you work in offices or at school and stuff, and you're in a room, even though there's fluorescent lights on the ceiling, you'll start to feel drowsy. The reason for that is because your body has begun to form melatonin, which is a chemical byproduct that teaches your body that it's time to go to sleep because it's too dark. Your eye is not absorbing enough light. The only way to absorb enough light into your eyes to make you actually feel like a normal person that can get healthy sleep is to actually go outside and absorb the lumens, which is a measurement of light from the sun. The sun produces hundreds of thousands of lumens, which even the brightest light you could possibly put above your head, like in Walmart and stuff, barely manufactures like 10 lumens, okay?
So it's like nothing compared to the sun. So there's no way to really use a light source inside of a building to trick you into getting the same benefit that you get from the sunlight. Now here's the problem, okay? That's the science of how the chemicals work to teach your body, to tell your body when it's time to sleep. The problem is that although it's not a lot of lumens that are coming out of your phone, your tablet, your computer, the light when you're streaming, the light in your bedroom, it's still enough to tell your brain through your eyeball that there is light. And as long as there's light, your brain is being told that it's still daytime. And so you can't go to sleep. So the problem is that as you go to sleep, if you're using a device like a tablet, a phone or whatever before you go to bed, you're telling your brain that there is a light source. You're telling your brain that there's sunlight, kind of. It doesn't know any better, okay? And so you are making yourself unable to sleep. It's your fault because you're using a device that is producing chemicals in your brain to tell you that you shouldn't sleep right now. It's daytime. Okay, so that's one thing you could do to help yourself with your sleep every night, is try to eliminate devices before you go to bed for at least an hour or 2 hours, so that way you give yourself time to produce the melatonin and chemicals, byproducts of the brain, to let your body go into sleep mode. Okay, the chemicals that need to get produced can only be produced in darkness. They cannot be produced with light. It's impossible to do that. Okay. The other thing is to use supplements, okay, to try and create a healthier sleep cycle. Because one of the biggest problems we have with sleep issues is the fact that we can't sleep at a proper schedule because we don't have a proper schedule. Like, for example, you know you should go to bed every night at 10 because it takes you 4 hours or 8 hours of sleep when you wake up at a certain time to feel fully re-energized to go back to your daily life. If you know how much time you need to sleep, then you know what time you should go to bed. But you can't get to bed at that time because the problem is that you don't have a consistent schedule. So the second thing you can do with helping yourself naturally deal with sleep disorder is to make sure that you try to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time every single day. Using an alarm to wake up and using an alarm as a reminder as part of your task list that you need to go to bed. And also a reminder that you should get away from all devices before you go to bed, so that way your brain can start producing the chemicals it needs to produce to know that it's time to go to sleep. Okay? So those two tie together. Avoid light in your eyes and make sure that you are setting a schedule every single day. And this includes the weekends. Like, you can't skip the weekend and think that it's going to be okay the next week. It all bleeds into each other. Every day is back to back to back to back. So it has to be a consistent schedule in order for it to work, okay? But building a schedule is the number 2 way for you to naturally deal with your sleep pattern, to make sure that you're fixing your sleep so you're not waking up agitated due to lack of regeneration or healing that is going to cause your ADHD to go haywire. The third way is the unnatural way, which is to use supplements, okay? Supplementing is a way for you to kind of produce the byproducts in your brain by taking certain pills or certain chemicals in the pills that come from plants or drugs or whatever it is, which all comes from plants anyway, and minerals and so forth. But taking some kind of supplement to create the byproducts in your brain to tell your brain, hey, it's sleep time, buddy, you need to go to bed. There are certain supplements that you can use that are recommended by many people. I have my own that I have picked. It's made by this company called Irwin, what the hell is it again? Irwin Natural, I believe. It's a green bottle, and it's called, oh my gosh, I have to pull it up on my phone. But there is a supplement that I particularly picked. The reason why I picked this supplement is because you will hear people of all different sorts of walk of life. Like, you go to GNC, you go to the vitamin store, you go to supplement store, you go talk to somebody who is a nutritionist. They will all tell you different things, but they're all kind of the same. Get melatonin, get magnesium, get this, get that. They tell you one chemical or one type of pill that you should take that should help you with your sleep. The problem is that the human body isn't that simple. We have many chemicals that affect our body, and our body doesn't work on just based on one chemical in order for it to produce sleep. It depends and relies on many chemicals reacting inside your body for you to go to sleep. So I did my own research. I actually read books on the science of sleep, as well as I did research on on minerals and plants and herbs and so forth that have vitamins or nutrients in them that can react with the chemicals inside of our body so that they can create the byproducts that help you with producing sleep chemicals to help you go to sleep naturally. This way, the whole point of taking supplement is not so that you can have a sleeping pill like the doctor gives you that knocks you out. That's not the point. It's to change your sleep schedule so that you can train your body to go to sleep at a particular time. So as I recommend one of these natural supplements, the point is for you to take it at the same time every day, fall asleep at the same time every day, and then after about a week or 2 weeks, your body's just naturally going to start falling asleep or wanting to go to sleep at that time. That's what you're supposed to do. You got to change your body's clock, okay? I chose this company's product because what happened was, as I was doing my research, I ended up finding out Irwin Naturals Power to Sleep PM. I ended up finding out, based on the ingredients that are in this product, that this product has something like, I'm going to say, over a dozen, probably almost 24 different types of plants, herbs, minerals, and supplements in it, all of which have to do with neurological fire and sedating the mind, lowering the activity in the brain, and producing byproducts and chemicals in the body that allow you to become drowsy and know that it's time to go to sleep. All of these different compounds combined together naturally are all in one pill that you take, and that one pill will allow you to get drowsy within 30 minutes to an hour max, and you just go to sleep. And it's 100% effective because of the fact that I did the research to find one product that has everything in it that can work for anyone. So there's so many different layers of stuff in it that it will work for anybody's body chemistry. So it should work for anyone. I vouch for it. I've been using it for 2 years. It works every time. It works all the time. But there's tons of stuff on the shelf you can find. I recommend that one because I've not found another product that has the stuff that this has in it. Like, for example, some of the products or plants that are in there are called like ashwagandha and gava and stuff like that. You can't find those in sleeping pills, or not sleeping pills, but it's natural supplements that help aid with sleeping, okay? And so this one has everything, like literally everything in one bottle and one pill, okay? But that's the unnatural way of trying to trick your body into getting proper sleep by building a sleep schedule. The last and final thing that you can do that's also natural that I forgot to mention is to, I mentioned how you can only absorb enough light in your eyes to tell your brain that it's daytime by going outside. So going outside and doing exercise is a very essential way for you to absorb sunlight into your eyes that you cannot absorb any other way. There's no other way of doing it. So that way you could tell your brain this is day, and then when you come in the house, this is night. And you can teach yourself just through going outside, even for a walk every day, that there's a time for you to be awake and there's a time for you to be asleep. You're teaching your brain's chemicals to produce the right chemicals at the right time. Exercise in general, I spoke about heavily in our anxiety session last weekend on how it affects the organs and how it can help build strength in the muscles. This, in general, with exercise will build strength in the mind, because a huge thing with exercise when it comes to conditioning, when it comes to pushing yourself to get better, to work harder at your exercise, to push more weight, or to run even longer distances, is mental conditioning. So you're teaching your brain, you're programming your brain to discipline, to force yourself to do something longer and harder. And that's something I talked about with your focus. You should be forcing yourself to focus for longer periods of time. If you go out for a jog, you're going to have to force yourself in the jog to run for longer periods of time. But you're also forcing your lungs to breathe faster and longer and deeper. You're teaching your heart to breathe, to palpitate or beat faster and harder and so forth. Your stomach, your legs, your arms. So exercise has a lot of benefit for the two reasons that A, like I spoke about last weekend, it will create strength in the muscles that will stop them from vibrating. And a huge problem with dealing with too much energy as ADHD people is that you have to get rid of that energy. And the energy, when it's bottled up in your body, it literally makes your muscles vibrate. That vibration creates stress, and that stress creates chemicals that cause pain and aching and suffering. That's why a lot of us that deal with these mental health issues end up with pain, and we don't know where it comes from. We don't know where it comes from because we don't understand the human body science. I do. And based on the human body's science, you are creating these vibrations, these excess energy by not exercising, that is creating stress and is creating chemicals in your body that's giving you pain and aches and so forth. So by just going out for a simple walk, or going out for a run, or going to the gym and lifting some weights, or having some dumbbells at home, or doing some sit-ups and crunches, whatever it is that you do for exercise, or going and playing soccer on a field with some friends or a team or whatever, playing basketball, all of this are ways for you to exercise to help your body build up strength and muscles, and to help your body create chemicals that it needs to feel regenerated, healthy, and neutralized. Okay, so that way it can have the nutrition it needs to be able to function normally. Because there are chemicals that cannot be made in your body that are not being made in your body because you're ADHD. The problem is you have a deficiency in your brain, and so you lack certain chemicals. Just by exercising and eating certain vegetables, by having a healthy diet, you can have nutrients in your body that you're missing, that you can make up for, that are problems in your brain with dealing with ADHD. So exercise and diet plays a huge role in everything, as I've been talking about these different subjects every weekend, and people just haven't explained it to you this way so that you can understand how and why it's beneficial to you to just even go for a walk, or to go and actually try to do something, an activity outside, or exercise in general with weight training or running. It's because it is helping the muscles stop vibrating, because they build strength, and then as they build strength, they stop vibrating, they stop stressing you out, you stop aching, and you stop producing bad chemicals in your body, and you start producing healthy chemicals that make you happier, that make you excited, and that make you think better. You become more focused and you think sharper and faster just by exercising, because it creates chemicals in the brain that help you do that, okay? So it's very important for exercise to be a part of your regime, or your system, or your training as you're dealing with ADHD as an issue, to help you kind of train yourself and reprogram yourself to become healthy again, or feel normal. All of these different layers of subjects I'm talking about break down into different ways to kind of help you. Now, we were focusing on sleep with this subject in particular. Now, if you exercise outside, you're going to be absorbing sunlight just by going outside, just as well you're exhausting your body. Just by going for a walk, you're getting rid of that excess energy. Remember earlier I was talking about how you have to picture the human body as a battery, and you have too much, your battery's overcharged. That's what ADHD people are, and anxiety people too. They're overcharged. So you have an excess amount of energy. That's why anxiety and ADHD they affect each other a lot. But the excess energy is a huge problem that causes these mental conditions and these heartful conditions, that we feel heartful because of anxiety and mindful because of the ADHD. Now, dealing with that, you can exercise and it'll expel of energy, because you get tired, and as you expel of energy, as you get tired and burn fuel, your body kind of slows down and relaxes so that you can regenerate. It goes into like sleep mode, right? Because you have to sleep to heal. So it kind of goes into a sleep mode. And then that allows you to relax. So if you go for a walk before you have to do a lecture, a lesson, go to a classroom, a meeting, whatever it is that you need to go do, and you feel too anxious, or you have ADHD about the situation, you can't pay attention, you have focus, you want to go to an interview for a job, or whatever it is that you need to deal with, just going for a walk will help you, or jogging will help you excessively, because you're getting rid of energy that's affecting you with your anxiety and with your ADHD. Now, one of the big things that, let's move on here, because we have procrastination and forgetfulness. Make a place for everything so you can forget where things. Okay, so this is a big thing, right? So with forgetfulness, now we're going to the subject forgetfulness. With forgetting things, the biggest reason why we forget things is because we don't pay attention to what we're doing, because there's too many voices in our head. So the easiest way for you to remember things is to be organized, to have a place for everything. This is very, very important for us ADHD people. You always lose your key. You always don't know where your wallet's at. You always don't know where you put your cup of coffee. You forgot to pick up your breakfast for work, your lunch. You forget all this stuff that is like important. So you forgot to brush your teeth, forgot to put deodorant on, whatever. All this stuff that has to do with normal daily lifestyle stuff that's very important, you forget. The reason why you're forgetting is because you don't have consistency. You don't have a pattern to follow. And so the best way to create consistency in a pattern is for you to be organized, to have a place for everything. If you're going to have a backpack that you need to take with you to school, or a suitcase you take with you to work, or a purse you take with you on the go, you should leave that one item in one place in your house at all times. It should always, when you come home, you put it there. When you leave home, you grab it from there. Always. Same thing with your keys. You have a key hook or you have a key drawer, you put it in the same spot all the time. You never fail to put things back where they came from or grab things where they belong, okay? If you can create this organization, this consistency, you will build habitual bridges in your brain to remind you that you're redundantly doing something, that the brain's just going to build a bridge there permanently. It becomes a habit. And as it becomes a habit, your day becomes easier every single day. So just by being organized, you can make your life easier by creating a habit neurologically within your mind, so that you can always remember where your stuff is at and you can never forget anything. This is something that I went through where I would constantly forget things because I was ADHD, whereas now I'm still ADHD, but I am fully capable of remembering everything that I need because I always have a particular place in the house for everything. Wallet goes here, key goes here, shoes go here, coat goes here, bag goes here. Everything has a place of its own. And so I always know where my stuff is at. And if I ever misplace something, I know that it wasn't me, someone grabbed my stuff. So every time like I can't find my phone or my wallet or my key, I literally go and ask another family member or friend or something that's near me or in my home, because I'm like, it should be in that drawer. Because that's where I always put it. I'm a creature of habit. I always say that. I'm a creature of habit. And I always find out that someone else moved my stuff. But the point is that you can create non-forgetfulness. You can start remembering things by being organized, by building bridges, by creating habit. So it's very important for you to do this for yourself inside your binder, inside your backpack, in your purse, in your car, in your room, in your house, at your work, on your desk, in your drawers. Always get rid of the clutter so that you can stop having noise to think about, because you're ADHD. Get rid of noise. This is very important. Focus in on the things that are important. Keep only what you need, and always have a place for everything that you need. Now, next thing that I have on the list is forgetfulness is due to inability to visualize or focus, visualization, repeating information. We already talked about that. Repeating information is essential. Okay, we talked about that. Restlessness due to excessive mental energy. Okay, we talked about that. Keep reminders and competitive tasks and don't. Yeah, so with tasking, I talked about this earlier already. Make sure that when you're doing your task, you have reminders like alarms that pop up, so that way you can stop forgetting. So we're talking about forgetfulness. Stop forgetting to do things by having a task list. And in this task list, you will have reminders, or you have alarms go off to remind you of the tasks you need to complete. So this way you could stop being forgetful. You can't be forgetful if you have sounds constantly remind you of vibrations in your pocket or in your purse to remind you of things you need to get done. Okay? Track your time, pay attention on long things. Yes, so this is very important. As you go about restructuring your life to deal with ADHD, the biggest problem is that we forget how we are unable to get things done. We procrastinate. So that has to do with forgetfulness and procrastination. We procrastinate because we don't know how long it takes to do things, and so we don't want to do it because we think it takes too long. And we don't want to waste our energy, our mental energy, on doing something because we don't know how long it takes, because we're already thinking about too many things because we're ADHD. So for you to solve this problem of dealing with forgetting to do things and not wanting to do things, procrastinating, the easiest thing for you to do is to pay attention to how long things take. Do something, like if you have to do the dishes or whatever, and pay attention to how long it actually takes you to do those dishes and how many dishes you did. If you have to wash your car, how long did it take you? Okay? If you have to wash brush your teeth, how long did it take you? It's important for you to start watching time, Because as you watch the clock and you learn how much time it takes to do things, it becomes easier, the more peaceful for your mind to deal with doing those things, because you start to realize, oh, it's going to take 5 minutes. You can add a number to the task. Now it's not just this horrifying thing you have to do. Now it's this number game. Like, oh, I have 10 hours in my day. I could squeeze in 30 minutes here and get this one thing done. I could squeeze in 5 minutes here to get this one thing done. You can reorder your task list and add these new tasks to your list, because now you know it's going to take me this much time to get it done. This is very helpful with procrastination and forgetfulness, because now you have yourself structured and organized to remember what it is you need to do, as well as knowing that it's only going to take you this much time, so you really can make the time to get done, so you don't have to procrastinate any longer. 2 minutes to brush your teeth, and at least that's for me. What's up, Brandon? How are you doing? Thanks for being here, buddy. Let's see here. So giving yourself more time to start earlier than everyone else. That's a huge problem with ADHD people, right? This is a problem that I have to this day. As much as I've trained myself to deal with ADHD, the biggest thing with me is that it takes me way longer to this day to get myself ready for my day than the average person, like way longer. And it's because of ADHD. The problem is that the biggest problem I have is that I'm so exhausted from being an ADHD person that I have so much crap going on in my mind that I have restlessness during the evening that causes me to be fatigued or exhausted in the morning. And so that when I wake up in the mornings, I don't feel so fully re-energized due to my mental activity, that it causes me to feel very slow when I start my day. So when I start my mornings, in order for me to go to a meeting or go to a job or to a customer or go to a project or to a location, let's say I have to be there at 8 a.m., I have to give myself 2 hours to get ready on top of my travel time. Let's say it takes me 1 hour to get to my location. I need to add 2 hours to that time, which means that in order for me to get to a meeting at 8 a.m., I have to wake up at 5 a.m. I have to spend 2 hours getting ready, walking very slowly to let my brain charge up and catch up, and drinking a little bit of coffee sometimes, or like, you know, doing some stretches help a lot actually, meditating, whatever it is that I have to do in my daily regime or my schedule, so that way I can get my brain and my body caught up. It takes forever. This is something that is an ADHD thing that I'm sure there's plenty of people to deal with. So this note that I wrote down is really important to think about it, you know, think it through. The fact that it's taking you longer to get stuff done or get to places, you're always late, is not because you are a person who is bad at being timely. It's because you have a mental deficiency that is affecting you psychologically from being able to function like a normal person. And so due to your inability to have the normal energy that a normal person has, it is affecting you from being able to process your day, your lifestyle in a normal way. So you need to be mindful of that and add extra time to your schedule when you need to do things. Add the extra time you need to get ready, because if you don't, you're going to just create an absolute mess out of your life. This has to do with procrastination. You don't want to do things because it takes too long to do things, but you don't know how long it takes to do things because you're not scheduling your day. Create the task list I was talking about earlier and schedule out your week, so that way you can really break down your days, remove the clutter from your life, get rid of people and things that you don't need to spend and waste your energy on, and focus on the things that you really should be focusing on, so you can have a healthier and more successful life on the daily. Okay, this is a daily thing when you're dealing with ADHD. So procrastination, doing things immediately. Because we are procrastinators as ADHD people, the number one mistake we can ever make as ADHD people is saying, I'll do it later. You got to stop that. This is the hardest thing of all the things that I talked about, okay, tonight. All right, of all the things to talk about, this is the hardest thing that anyone will have to ever go through, is forcing themselves to do whatever it is they need to do now. Now. It doesn't matter if you can get it done tomorrow. If you could do it right now, you do it now. right now. Because the problem is, as an ADHD person, you're so forgetful, you procrastinate so much, and you have so much lack of focus that doing it later, those things are going to get in the way and you're not going to get it done later. It's better to get stuff done now immediately, so that way it's one less thing that you can erase from your brain. And again, with ADHD, we need to reduce clutter, reduce energy, reduce clutter. So you can reduce clutter by just getting shit done now and not waiting till later. It's very important. It's hard, it's super hard. That's called discipline, is what that's called. But you just got to do it. Now here's the last two subjects of tonight that I wanted to talk about. I left for last on purpose because they're very sensitive subjects, and I will start with the I'll start with the easier one, which is coffee. Just leveling on WoW with the girlfriend. Oh, sweet, dude. Thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate it, Amarix. But yeah, so coffee. Coffee. Coffee is a chemical that we ingest that is absolutely addicting. It doesn't matter what anyone says to you. Addiction has nothing to do with drugs or alcohol. It has to do with a mental process. Addiction has to do with the habit forming that I was talking about earlier, with your brain creating habits, because it's building full permanent bridges within your mind, within your actual brain tissue. You're creating permanent bridges that become habits, and this can lead to addictions. And so it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's candy or coffee or chocolate or anything can be addicting. Your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your car, everything can be addicting, okay? So don't ever have anybody persuade you that it's just some chemical thing. Anything, okay? Coffee can be addicting, especially for us ADHD people, and here's why. Because most of you have already experienced this, because coffee is a common thing that is exposed to us like a natural, normal thing. When we drink coffee, we become very focused. The chemical reaction that we have is not normal. People drink coffee and they get energy. We don't just get energy. Sometimes we don't even get energy. We actually get focus. Mental focus. It creates what's called hyper-focusing, which I spoke about earlier, which is a psychological term that people deal with ADHD. Hyper-focusing is what I call tunnel visioning. And if you tunnel vision, you are so drawn into what you're doing that you are forgetting about everything else that's going on around you. So that's why it was a very sensitive subject for me to bring up. Yes, coffee can be very helpful for ADHD people, but it can be very damaging as well, because if you drink coffee, it can increase energy because it's an energy supplement. It increases energy in the body. And the biggest problem we deal with anxiety and with ADHD is having too much energy. Remember, I keep talking about that? So you want to avoid having too much energy. What happens with ADHD and anxious people or depressed people when they have too much energy is it causes us to get depressed, it causes us to be anxious, it causes us to have too much energy, and it causes us to feel overwhelmed. So it actually makes the problem worse. So by drinking coffee, you can actually create a bigger problem with your ADHD than actually solving the problem. So this is where it can be a very sensitive subject into how you use coffee, okay? You can use coffee for focus, but you should only use it when you are working on an essential project that requires mental focus. If you're coding, if you're building a website, if you're studying homework, if you are entering information in a database for work, keying in data, if you are calculating large amounts of information as an accountant, if you're drawing in huge amounts of mental energy focus, coffee's fantastic. It's for you. But there's two things you need to be cautionary about. A is your intake. How much are you drinking? It is very, very hard to just sip on coffee. Like, just take a sip and wait for it to work, because you have it in front of you and you're like, oh, there's coffee, and you're ADHD, right? So you're like, oh, coffee, oh, drink, oh, coffee, oh, drink, oh, coffee, oh, drink. And you end up drinking so much damn coffee that what you just did is you increase the amount of caffeine intake you have in your body, which affects you chemically, because what coffee does is it shuts down this processing system of a chemical called adenosine. And when adenosine is shut down, it eliminates the process of drowsiness and sleepiness or exhaustion in your body, which allows you to stop feeling tired or sleepy. But then it also starts to work on your internal organs and starts to over exaggerate how much your heart rate's beating, which is why you start to feel your heart rate increase, which causes you to create adrenaline in your body. Adrenaline, the byproduct of creating adrenaline in your body, it becomes a vasoconstrictor. It starts to restrict and squeeze the veins inside your body. And it's the same thing as tensing up your muscles with your fist bundled up. That's exactly what the adrenaline's doing to your body. It's tensing your muscles up, and it's doing that with your eyes and your brain at the same time. That's why you feel so focused when you drink caffeine, because the chemical reaction that's happening in your body is actually making that happen. It's forcing your body to tense up and focus in. So it totally helps you with focusing, and we have focus problems as ADHD people. So it's kind of like medicinal to us. We feel like it's magic, right? But the problem is that as you try to drink too much coffee, if you drink an excess amount of coffee, and coffee or caffeine is measured in milligrams, if you overdo the amount of milligram intake you have, you start to shut down the gate on adrenaline or on adenosine manufacturing. And then when the coffee goes away, the floodgate opens, and you just get flooded with adenosine. And what happens is you crash. That's why you crash. So it's very important that if you're gonna make coffee or caffeine in general part of your regime, part of your daily diet to try and help you with mental challenging tasks, to help you with focus, you need to sip on it and wait your ass until it kicks in. If it doesn't kick in, take another sip, then wait. You have to be very patient with it. You can't overdo it. You overdo it, you start to put your body into crash mode, and you start overdriving your body with too much adrenaline, which is unhealthy and dangerous to your body. It starts to break you down. So coffee can be used for ADHD, but you have to be very, very careful with how you use it. That's why I left it as one of the last subjects on the list that I was going to talk about. Forgot to follow last night after I subbed. Yeah, no, I appreciate the love, Brandon. Thank you so much, man. So yeah, coffee is really good for ADHD people, but it can also be really bad if you overdo it, okay? So be very careful with it. Take sips, wait like 30 minutes, 15-30 minutes for it to kick in. If it doesn't, take more sips. And then as soon as it kicks in, when you feel that tunnel vision, like you're zooming in, take that shit and put it somewhere else far away from you so you don't drink it again. Don't touch it until you start to feel your energy bar drain. Then take sips. So you're chasing the dragon. It's what's that's called. But you are constantly trying to get that energy back. But you're doing it in a healthy way by using very minimal amount of milligrams of caffeine. You want to reduce the amount of caffeine intake that you're consuming, okay? Because it can be harmful to your body. Let's see. Okay, the last thing I left on the list. Learning to control the voices in your head by taming them with meditation. This is the most complicated, most controversial subject when it comes to dealing with all of these problems, because you can literally deal with anxiety, you can deal with ADHD and depression all by just using meditation. I'm not saying it's the one solve all problem. What I'm saying is that it's another tool on top of all of the tools I described tonight that you could use to help you deal with ADHD, which is our subject tonight, but it will help you with the other issues too. I spoke about this on my previous sessions on the previous weekends on how meditation can be very beneficial to help you deal with conditions like anxiety. Today, I'm going to mention it again with dealing with ADHD. With ADHD, again, I'm going to go back to saying that we are dealing with clutter, voices in our head that are distracting us from being able to focus on whatever's in front of us that is important. So the best way, okay, the natural, healthy way for you to slow down or make those voices go away is to implement meditation into your lifestyle. Meditation, and I have to explain this again because people are really confused about what meditation is. They think they know what meditation is based on what they heard other people say or what they see people do on YouTube, but it's not. I'm Buddhist, okay? I actually know what meditation is, so I'm going to explain to you in a simple way, because that's my job during these therapy gaming streams, is to break information down for you in a way that you can understand. Meditation is the process of being able to find a way to discipline, program your brain to stop thinking about stuff you don't want it to think about. That's what meditation is ultimately about, okay? In the beginning, there's different types of meditation, but this is ultimately the goal of meditation. It is to quiet the mind, as they say, okay? Philosophically. It is to submit yourself to the opportunity to be silenced, to stop the voices in your head. So ADHD, the problem with ADHD is we have too many voices in our head, too much stuff going on. So what better solution than a tool that is designed to teach you how to silence the voices in your mind? It's the perfect solution. Now here's the thing. Now I'm going to break down into meditation as a process, because I already know there's people freaking out about like, oh my God, I tried meditation, it didn't work. I did what they said, but it just doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. Look, I've heard it all, okay? I keep hearing it over and over again. Let me explain to you in a simple way how you can achieve meditation without complication, okay? People make it too complicated for themselves and for others. All you have to do to meditate, my friend, okay, is sit your ass down, lay down, go outside, go wherever the hell it is if you want to hang from the ceiling, you want to go on the roof and stare at the stars, whatever it is you need to do to make yourself comfortable, okay? Make yourself comfortable. Once you are comfortable in a safe, quiet area that no one can distract you, close your eyes, and you're going to do one thing. Just one thing is all you're going to do. You're going to focus on the breathing that is going through your nose, into your throat, and in your body, out your throat, and out your nose, and out into the air. You're going to listen to the sound of the air going in and out of your system, and you're going to focus your brain on the air, visualizing the air going in your body and out your body. You're going to listen to it, and you're going to focus on it, and that is it. That's all you're doing. That's it. That's all you have to do to meditate, okay? To start out. To learn to meditate, to know what it is to meditate, that's it. I don't care if you do it for 1 minute, 30 seconds, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The time doesn't matter. Time is irrelevant. It doesn't exist. What matters is that you are capable, you're fully capable of sitting your ass down or laying down somewhere, closing your eyes, and focusing on your breath. Come on, bro. You could do it, okay? Like, it's the simplest thing in the world. That's all you have to do. It doesn't matter how long you do it. What matters is that in order for you to actually learn how to get into meditation, to actually transition into meditation itself, is to repeat that step often. So to do that is the first step, to just focus on your breathing. The second step is to do it for longer periods of time. It takes practice and time for you to learn how to actually meditate. The process of learning, the first step of learning how to meditate is to just focus on your breathing. Because here's why. Now I'm going to explain why. Okay, I told you what you need to do. Now I'm going to explain why. The reason why you're focusing on your breathing is because the goal of meditation is so that you can eliminate all thoughts from your mind, to clear your mind from noise, so that you can feel peace and quiet, feel silence. The only way for you to feel peace and quiet and silence is to focus on one thing with so much mental energy that you forget about everything else. Here's the second step to meditation. First, you focus on your breathing. The second step is that as you focus on your breathing, what's going to happen, this is natural and normal, is you're going to start drifting off with your thoughts, because you're ADHD, about thinking about random crap. That's going to happen. That's natural. When you drift off and start thinking about something that is not your breathing, your job is to shut your brain up, forget about whatever it is you're thinking about, and refocus your brain onto your breathing. That's it. That's the secret sauce to learning how to meditate. Focus on your breathing. When you stop thinking about your breathing, you start thinking about your toothbrush or your car or your job or your school or your homework, tell yourself, shut up, focus on the breathing. Go back to focusing on the breathing. Focus on the air coming in, focus on the air going out, focus on feeling good, focusing on good energy coming in, focusing on oxygen coming in, focusing on bad energy going out. Just focusing on whatever it is that makes you feel happy while you're focusing on the air going in and out of your body. Okay? That's what you need to do over and over again. And what you're doing is you're disciplining, you're training your brain to build a neurological path. Again, I'm going back to this shit. Build a permanent neurological bridge, a tissue inside your brain that allows you to form a habit to do something that becomes natural and easy to do, which is to control your thoughts, to eliminate them and push them to the side, forget about them, and focus on one thing. So you're training your brain to focus by using meditation. As you go through this process of every day trying for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, to focus on just something else that is not thoughts, you will train your brain to stop thinking so much. And you are ultimately conquering your ADHD for the first time in your life. It is the only way of everything I spoke about tonight. Okay, I've been talking for 2.5 hours now of everything I talked about, every tool I gave you guys at your disposal. The number one most powerful, most successful tool you can apply to your life is meditation, because it is ninjutsu for the brain. It teaches you how to control your mind. And that's our problem, is we have a mental condition that is affecting us from thinking naturally and normally and healthy. So we need to train ourselves on how to do that. And the best way to do that is through meditation, okay? Yes, there are deeper levels of meditation, more advanced levels where you can like start imagining scenarios and stuff. You're not going to get there for like months, bro. Okay, it's going to be a while before you get there. The more time you invest in meditating, the faster you're going to learn to quiet your mind. Be mindful of that. More time you invest into meditating, the faster you're going to achieve the success of controlling your mind. The less time you invest, the longer it's going to take you to control your mind. So think about that. How much time are you wanting to really invest into controlling your ADHD mentally? That's up to you and how much time you have and how important it is to you. And you need to build that task list on Microsoft OneNote so that you can start scheduling out your life and breaking down shit so that you know what you can and cannot do, and start paying attention to the time every day on how long it takes you to get shit done. So that way you can start breaking it down on your task list and know how much stuff you can actually accomplish in a day, and schedule out your weeks so that you don't overschedule yourself with friends, with going places, or with other jobs or projects, okay? But yes, there are deeper levels of meditation, and the next level, okay, once you train yourself to quiet the mind, is you could start thinking about peaceful, happy things. I was talking about at the beginning of this stream tonight about how anxiety and depression tie into ADHD. They tie into ADHD because everything I spoke about tonight are things that I already spoke about in the anxiety and depression sessions, about how the human body and the human mind affect us with the thoughts that make us depressed and the feelings that make us anxious. And ADHD is controlling our thoughts to be overwhelming, which makes us feel unsatisfactory, makes us feel overwhelmed. It makes us feel like we're not good enough, and those are feelings of depression. So the thoughts that you go through with ADHD affecting your daily life, making you feel not normal, making you feel not successful, making you feel like you're not good enough, will go down the path of ultimately making you depressed. Anxiety are feelings that are inside of your second mind. I spoke about how the brain mind is one mind scientifically, and scientifically the heart has been determined as a second mind. It's got its own neurological system in it. It's got synapses. It's got its ability to think. It's not just a freaking pump like we thought for thousands of years or whatever. It's an actual second brain. Your heart mind controls your feelings with thoughts, and so if you are dealing with anxiety, you're going to be having feelings and thoughts in your heart that are going to affect you to feel anxious. Look back on my previous sessions to get deeper details about this stuff. But ADHD is giving you feelings of anxiety because you have so much thoughts going on in your head that you start to panic. And panic is fear, and I talked about in my anxiety session how fear is a big part of anxiety. It's being afraid of something that's going to happen that hasn't happened yet. And depression is being sad about something that already happened. They're in different tenses. They're in different times of your life. They're different, but they relate to each other. ADHD also ties into the equation because it controls your mind on how you think and how much you think. And this ultimately begins to affect you depressingly and to affect you emotionally, okay? So ADHD can heavily weigh on your depression and anxiety, and they will always work together because they are all connected to each other, because we are a complicated machine that has been designed to do beautiful things, but we don't understand how it works, and so we fail to learn how to heal it. That's what therapy gaming is about. That's why I created this session. That's what we've been doing for the last few weekends, is we've been talking about these subjects. And that's what it's all about when it comes to me presenting this information to you guys. It's breaking down the science, the spirituality, the mindfulness, the thoughts, and the system and procedures behind these really tough subjects, so we can understand how can we really approach them in a way that gives us a little bit of release, a little bit of hope, that we can feel a little bit better. Because like I said, and I keep saying, when you're dealing with mental health conditions, the biggest thing you could do for yourself is give yourself just a little bit of happiness, because we deal with so much unhappiness and so much bad toxic thought process that just a little bit of goodness feels so good. It's big, it's huge. So applying all of these things will help you with dealing with your ADHD, as well as weigh in on dealing with your anxiety, as well as weigh in with dealing with your depression. If you want to go deeper into the anxiety subject, which I spent 3 hours on last weekend, just check out YouTube, look up Cup of Noodles, look up the playlist under hashtag therapy gaming, and you'll be able to see everything I've streamed and recorded on there, so that you can look back on the topics of depression and anxiety. Thank you so much, Flame, for being here. Appreciate you being back. But that brings me pretty much to the wrap-up end of our discussion here, or our topic of ADHD. I provided an intense amount of information tonight. I encourage anybody who's really looking into trying to find methods or ways of understanding and dealing with ADHD, anxiety, and depression to go back on YouTube, go look back at this information to see how you can find techniques that are unique, that I have crafted myself to deal with these issues, that you will not necessarily find online or find through therapy and so forth, because the way I explain it is in detail and the way I explain it is unique. So yes, you will find a lot of this stuff that I talk about on the internet if you look it up, or through professional help. And I encourage anybody who feels like they are way beyond helping themselves to get professional help. And if you are so deeply entrenched in the problem that you can't function at all, that you are depressed and suicidal, you definitely should consider medication. Okay, be safe, be kind, and be kind to yourself first of all, because if you are not kind to yourself, you're not going to snap out of the mentality of negativity, and it's the negativity that is dragging you down into a deeper hole that you cannot climb out of. I know, because I've been going through all of this as I've been trying to work with you guys with these topics, and I myself have been dealing with a lot of them currently in my current life situation, circumstance, and condition. I appreciate you guys so much for being here. You guys go ahead and ask any questions if you need to, address any concerns if you need to. Otherwise, I would love it if we can kind of get another topic for me to bring on board next weekend. I kind of thought of the idea of taking the 3 subjects of ADHD, anxiety, and depression, and bringing them all together after everything I've explained in detail, bringing them together, summarizing, and talking about how to deal with them together as a whole instead of separately. I thought about doing that next weekend, but I'm not sure that if we're there yet with this whole category, and with the therapy, and with the support that I've been providing you guys. So it's really up to you guys to tell me where you kind of want me to go with it. If you end up showing up on my YouTube watching this later on, just go ahead and leave what you believe, what you think are your comments or your ideas, or even topics that you believe I should be talking about or addressing next in the comment below the video. And as well, anybody who is in my Discord server, you could just communicate with me and talk to me about these subjects. I am always willing to speak to you about everything that is going on in my life, as well as hear you out on what's going on in yours, and trying to provide you an ear, a shoulder, as well as advice, if that's what you're looking forward to. I am not certain that I'm going to be transitioning into online gaming tonight, because I just have so much going on right now with me just moving over the weekend or the week, and as well as having a ton of things that I need to restructure and reorganize in my life. It would be healthier and more beneficial for my current condition for me to get offline and just kind of spend some time with people that I love, as well as try to wrap my mind about starting my new week and getting ready to reorganize and restructure my life for a new beginning, because I'm starting my life all over again. How's everybody feeling? Anybody have any questions or anything? Let me know. I'll give you a moment to catch up with me, and we'll see where this goes. For those of you who are on Twitter, I'm sorry that I'm not able to communicate with you. I keep saying this every week. If you ever want to chat with me and you're on Twitter watching me, make sure to hop on over to YouTube, Mixer, or Twitch, any of the streaming platforms to communicate with me live, because I can't do it through Twitter. My system will not let me do it. It doesn't look like you guys are really questionable about anything that we went over tonight, so I guess that will just pretty much wrap it up for me with this session. And I hope that you guys got out of it that what I wanted you to get out of it, and I can only look forward to the to hope and dream that it will provide support, help, and healing to more people as the content kind of sits out there online for people to view at a later time. Thank you so much for everybody who is constantly participating, hopping in. My schedule every week is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Fridays I do my team, my Cup of Noodles team gaming night, where we game together as a community with all of my gaming fan members that have been around with me. And then Saturdays we just do random games, and we just do our own thing and play games that we love. And then Sundays I do therapy gaming, and it's a day that is specifically has been devoted for this particular thing. I kind of notice a lot of people that have been dealing with some really hard situations in their life that I have been going through and I could relate to. So I figured, why not create a way for me to reach out to these people, provide them healing, provide them a piece of my mind so that they can feel related to, and provide them a piece of my heart so that they can feel a bit of passion from someone who really cares about the subject and wants to provide them some kind of support and healing. Be mindful that as I do this, I'm not just doing this as some kind of system to try and generate traffic, because obviously I am not contributing to that at all as part of my my stream. I'm mainly trying to focus on people who really do need this kind of healing. I've gotten a lot of good feedback over the weeks about people who have been reliant on this system that I'm providing them the service, or this stream type and category, and so it makes me really happy, and it makes me glow in my heart to know that I am actually doing I'm doing something to help people, because that's really what this is about. So I appreciate and love you guys so much for constantly being around, and for showing appreciation for my heart as I share it with you. It's it means more than you can understand, especially since I went through a very depressing and hard point in my life, that I was really down in the dumps, and you guys doing what you do, being with me in the community and on stream, has really gotten me through that and gotten me to a point that I am at today, where I feel healthier than I felt in the last few months or so. I will be back with streaming on Friday evening, so my streaming schedule is always 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Friday and Saturday and Sunday, except that now that I live in a new place with other people, I'm not in my own place anymore, I need to be considerate of their schedules. So the Sunday schedule is most likely going to change. I was going to change it tonight, but it turned out that everybody left, so I was able to stream tonight at a normal time, and I would have preferred to keep it at the same schedule because people have gotten accustomed to my 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time schedule. And but next week I'm pretty sure it's going to change. We'll see what happens. I'll stay informed with you guys. I'll keep communication open. I always blast on Twitter what's going on with my schedule and everything, and on Discord. Those are the two places you will always find me 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, is Twitter and Discord. I will see you guys online in different places. I look forward to playing with you guys again. I appreciate those who have joined my community, and I look forward to playing games with you guys. We will get to do that throughout the week as the week goes by. Thank you so much again, you guys. Thank you for the follow, Amarex. Thank you so much for the host, the machine. Thank you everybody for everything that you're doing. Thank you for the bits, the follows, the subscriptions. You guys keep me going. In regards to streaming, it does cost me money to do this. I have to pay for internet and all sorts of stuff. It costs me like a couple $100 a month to do this. What was your Discord? Just type !Discord, and my bot will respond and give you my Discord link for you to join my Discord server. There's a whole community of people on there, not like hundreds like other Discords. Mine's like really small. People who are actually give a shit, care, loving each other, and show a lot of affection. They all play together. We've been together for like 3 years as a community for the gaming fam, and everyone else is just super supportive and super caring. My community is like super positive. It's super helpful. Everybody's really, they're just a blessing to have these people in my life. So anybody who wants to join my Discord, it's open to the public. You're gonna end up in the public chat where you can just hang out with everybody that's in the public chat. Over time, as we build trust with you as a community, you end up gaining ranks that allows you to be part of our gaming fam, and you end up spending way too much time with us as people. My gaming fam and I, we spend 7 days a week together as a gaming community, and as people who play games together. We're consistently interacting with each other, helping each other, and gaming with each other. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for everything that you do. Again, you guys take care of yourself. Stay healthy. Be mindful. Stay positive. Apply the techniques that I've presented to you. Remember that you can go back on YouTube and view and review everything that I have suggested and I have talked about. I look forward to seeing any of your comments on there, to providing me new topics to talk about as the weeks go by, as well as information that has to do with questioning and discussions about the subjects. Thank you so much. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. You guys keep it spicy as usual. I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys. Peace out.